guy on the radio who talks to me. I can't see him, but he talks to me.
Now, live from inside the Ocean Casino Resort Studio, here.
Josh Hennig back from the elongated weekend here on 97.3 ESPN, filling in for Mike Gill on a Monday afternoon. Mike Gill is down in a spring training still with the Phillies, so he'll be back in a couple of days, like the Phillies will be. When the Phillies come back to town, so will Mike Gill next this coming week. But for right now, it's me, it's you, hanging out on a Monday afternoon. Unlike some radio show hosts who think that drinking and eating at the same time is a bad idea, I'm going to tell you guys right now that I had an incredible weekend with a couple of drinks and some amazing food watching basketball all day and night Saturday and then Sunday as well, because thank the Lord. I mean, genuinely thank God that the Sixers game came on during the Purdue Utah State game, because I would have fallen asleep. I mean, Purdue smashed them so bad. I was so happy to play. I mean, I was literally wondering why the Sixers are taking 10 extra minutes to start this game in LA, because the Purdue game was so bad. We got a lot to get to in the next 4 hours here on 97.3 ESPN. Rest of Atlantic City's Mike McGarry doing this coming up in about 25 minutes from now. We'll get into the latest with him as the Phillies start, tweaking the roster. They made a move yesterday. Some people were excited, some people were sad to see Jake Cave go. He's now a Colorado Rocky. Look at what that means for the roster. Plus, we'll talk NBA with NBA insider Brandon Scoopy Robinson coming up at 8 p.m. Scoopy predicted what we saw from the Sixers yesterday. He predicted this almost 2 weeks ago. We'll get his thoughts on Sixers in the Eastern Conference after Philadelphia got an all-important win. They should have beat the Lakers the other day, but they couldn't finish the job against them. They were able to finish the job against the Clippers, and now they're at least going to walk out of this road trip with at least one win and salvage it. Plus, football four still to come coming up with Geoff from the Inside the Birds podcast, InsideTheBirds.com. Howie Roseman spoke to the media today. He had some interesting comments about the Eagles when it comes to running back and when it comes to Kenny Pickett. And by the way, I guess quarterback back is back because over the weekend, the Eagles signed Will Greer to be a quarterback training camp. So it looks like that you're barely going to see Jalen Hurts in the NFL preseason. It's going to be Pickett. It's going to be Greer. It's going to be Tanner McKee. And may the best man be the backup quarterback. It's probably going to be Pickett. But still, it'd be funny to see all these random quarterbacks on the field for the Eagles this year. Also coming up at 5 o'clock, we'll talk Phillies with Bob Wankel from Crossing Broad, because it's more than just the Jake Cave trade. It looks like, despite a very poor showing in spring training, Johan Rojas still has a great chance ahead of him to be the starting center field. I gotta say, I am shocked, because I really thought that the Phillies were going to send him down the spring trail after spring training was done, let him kind of recalibrate his hitting mechanics, and then maybe come back up in a month or two. But it's starting to look like that they are going to they are going to go with Rojas. So we'll ask Bob about that. Also, don't forget, it's Nick's Nuggets today at 4:25. Nick Earnshaw, producer for the Locker Room with Billy Schweim on the weekends, joins the Sports Bash each Monday, Thursday, and Friday. We haven't heard from Nick since last week because the NCAA tournament was all day Thursday and Friday. So we'll get to all that coming up throughout the show. And of course, your text messages at 609-403-0973. That is the text board Also, your DMs into the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. But we got to start with the basketball first before we get to the Eagles stuff, because it is an amazing weekend when you can just sit down and watch the games all weekend. Now, look, I'll admit it. It was a little late for that one game to be ending on Saturday night. And then you had the overtime game last night between Houston and Texas A&M. So, I mean, it was a lot of basketball to consume. And as I said, you had the Sixers on yesterday. Following that was a Flyers game. So a ton of moving parts going on all over the place this weekend. Again, not that I'm complaining, because I'm not. Because I'm a sports geek. I love sports. I'll watch sports anytime, any place. I don't care. But man, there's a part of you that's looking around when you're watching North Carolina State and Oakland go to overtime, and then later at night, Creighton and Oregon go to double overtime. You're being grateful. You're having this gratitude that even though your bracket may be busted, even though your bracket may have gone sideways, this is great basketball. And then you are gifted the Sixers win yesterday. And I know we're not supposed to read too much into wins and losses, but I think it was a real, genuine show me something game yesterday afternoon. Because the Sixers should have won the game on Friday night against the Lakers. Another game that kept me up way later than I was planning to be. But, you watch that Lakers game on Friday, and you see, if you were up like I was, that there were 20 turnovers by the Lakers. The Sixers only had 8 turnovers in that game. And you felt like if Tobias Harris wasn't such an idiot, if he wasn't such a loser, that you could have won that game and you could have put the Lakers out of their misery. But instead, Tobias Harris couldn't make free throws. He couldn't make layups. And the Sixers were hoping and praying that Maxey would save them again. And when he wasn't able to save them, it all fell apart. So then you get to Sunday, and you're thinking, man, here's James Harden. He's going to want to do some things against you. Clippers, like the Lakers, they are still fighting for playoff seeding. And what the Sixers do? They came out and handled that game from beginning to end, basically. They never gave the Clippers a legitimate chance to have a shot at winning that game. Kelly Oubre deserves a ton of credit. Yeah, Tobias Harris had a good game statistically, but to me, that was a Kelly Oubre game. That's the kind of game that if you're in a playoff game and Embiid is healthy and Maxey is healthy and you need a third guy, and Oubre gives you that type of game in the postseason, you're probably going to win it. Kelly Oubre, when he had that block yesterday afternoon, I almost jumped up out of where I was sitting. I almost jumped off the couch through the ceiling. I was just like, wow, what a play. Because that block really showed you that Kelly Oubre is here to win. Kelly Oubre is not here to just get stats. And it throws right in the face of a backstabber like Patrick Beverley. Remember Pat Bev said that the difference between Philadelphia and Milwaukee is that Milwaukee actually wants to win? Remember that? He says, oh, these guys are actually trying to win. This is a winning culture. And Philadelphia guys are just playing for stats. Remember that? Because I do. And guess what? Pat Bev looks like an idiot today. Because even though the Sixers didn't win the game on Friday and won the game still yesterday, there were guys trying to win those games. Now, obviously, a huge difference between Friday and Sunday's games was Tobias Harris being Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, being two completely different human beings from one night to the next. One night, it looks like Tobias Harris is a functional, competent basketball player on Sunday. And on Friday, he looks like he doesn't even belong in the NBA. But still, guys like Kelly Oubre, guys like Cam Payne, these guys are trying to win basketball games. They're not just trying to pad their stats. And it goes to show you that teams can win games in the NBA. I don't need Tyrese Maxey to save me every single night. You can win games without Maxey having to score 40, 50 points to save you. I think that is a big delineation for this basketball team moving forward. Now, it doesn't negate the fact that in theory, they have now fallen apart multiple games in recent weeks. But it's also a part because they don't have a Joel Embiid. And I am not going to make any excuses for that. The reality is that if Joel was playing, you probably would not be 39 and 32. You'd probably be closer to, at worst, 41 and 30, if not potentially 43 and 28. Because you go back and look at some of these games they've lost. The Lakers game on Friday. You go back to the Milwaukee game on the 14th of this month. You go back to the New Orleans game at home on March 8th. You go back to the Brooklyn game on March 5th. Those were all games that the way the game played out, you could have and maybe should have won those games if you had Embiid. We even go back to the Miami Heat game on February 14th. I looked at that game and I was like, man, we should have won this game. So I'm very well aware that things would be different with Embiid. But I'm just saying you got to give this team credit for fighting. You got to give them credit for trying. And it gets me to the question of the day. I asked her earlier today at 973 ESPN on Facebook. And I'll ask it to you guys right now, all of you who are listening on 973 ESPN FM, listening on 973 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Seattle. Wherever you're listening, thank you for listening. Look back over the weekend. It was a good weekend for sports, right? March Madness and Sixers. What got your blood pumping more this weekend? Because it certainly wasn't the Flyers. Flyers yesterday. I mean, Sandstrom played so bad in goal that the head coach, Tortorella, stormed out of the press conference. He was so miserable with Felix Sandstrom. And this is where and we'll talk Flyers, not right now, but, the Flyer situation right now is an example of why when you have a first-year general manager, when you have a first-year front office executive, when you have a head coach who does have a strong say in things, this is where things go wrong, because there's no reason why when I forget his name off the top of my head, but when Carolina released their backup goaltender, that the Flyers didn't go out and pick him up immediately. Because when you look at Sandstrom yesterday, it was so bad watching him defend. I mean, there should have been more goals. Antti Ranta. They should have picked up Antti Ranta. I talked about it with Kevin Durso a couple weeks ago. You have one organization in the Flyers that is on pace to make the postseason. And literally, if you had a competent goaltender in goal yesterday, you might have won the game. So I know the Flyers weren't getting you excited this weekend. Maybe the Phillies are getting you excited. By the way, for those who didn't hear, Phillies have traded Jake Cave away yesterday, the same day they gave Matt Strom a contract extension. And the Phillies now, according to Rob Thompson, they are considering Rojas, starting center fielder, opening day this Thursday when Mike Gill and the Sports Bash will be live for the Phillies opening day watch party at Maynard's and Margate. Now, today's lineup doesn't reflect that idea. Today's lineup looks very different than a Johan Rojas lineup. That's for sure. For those who didn't see, the Phillies are actually, by the way, two things. One, I understand that baseball is trying to get people to watch MLB TV and MLB.com, and I'm all for the streaming generation. But when you don't have a TV that can download the MLB.com app and you're trying to cast it to your Google Chrome, and you find out that Google Chrome doesn't accept MLB TV casting on the TV, it just makes you a little deflated. That's the position I'm in. I'd love to have the Phillies on here in the studio right now, but apparently MLB TV and Google Chrome don't get along. But anyway, back to the Phillies lineup. The starting lineup today looks mostly like what an opening day lineup would be for the Phillies, except for one name. Schwarber, Turner, Harper, Realmuto, Bohm, Stott, Castellanos, Merrifield, Marsh. Well, there's two issues with this lineup. Number one, the Phillies like the left-right alternate. So I don't see a scenario where Marsh and Schwarber are ever going to hit back-to-back if the Phillies can help it. Number two, if the suggestion is that Rojas can be the starting center fielder this year, why is he not in the lineup today? Is Rob Thompson talking out of two sides of his mouth? Is Thompson saying one thing to the media and then doing something else with the lineup? Again, for those who didn't hear, Rob Thompson yesterday said, quote, about Rojas, he's improving. For me, as long as he doesn't get buried, we're a better team with him on the club. We are, just because of the defense. So what Rob Thompson is saying is Rojas' defense is good enough to necessitate him being on this team. Now, this is the same Rob Thompson that a few days earlier says they haven't made any decisions yet about center field. But yet what do? They trade away Jake Cave. Jake Cave had a very specific role on this team. And now the Phillies are optioning Cody Clemens, the AAA, because Cody Clemens made the most sense for this team, right? He made the most sense as if you're getting rid of Cave, you keep Clemens. Well, if you're going to not keep Clemens and you're going to get rid of Cave, are you really going to go start the season with both Pache, Rojas, and Marsh taking reps in center field? Or am I missing something? 609-403-0973 is text before we get to Mike McGarry in the press of Atlantic City coming up in about 6 minutes from now. Anonymous texter chiming in on the text board says, Josh, please try to convince me why I shouldn't be worried about this Phillies team going into the season. I feel like it's going to be another slow start for them because none of the starters are really hitting the ball well. The concern is real. Well, a couple things, anonymous texter. One, you can't read too much into spring training. Spring training is where guys figure things out. There's so many examples in baseball history of players not performing well in spring training and then starting a season well or having a great season. So I can't read too much into spring training because I know it's exhibition season and I don't take it as a, because if we're going literally by spring training, Rojas should be in the minor leagues, Pache should be your starting center fielder, and it should be Brandon Marsh in left. If we're going literal by spring training. And also based on spring training, Aaron Nola should never pitch again. Because some of those pitches he threw when he was working things out real bad. You can't read in the spring training, okay? The reason why it would not be as slow of a start for this team going into the years last year is because you don't have all these guys coming off the World Baseball Classic. The Phillies were very honest about that last year and this year, that the whole situation when it came to Schwarber and Realmuto and all the guys who were not in spring training for the rest of the month of March And then for them to come in the way they did, it hurt them. And then again, no Harper to start last year, no Ranger Suarez to start last year. You were shorthanded and guys not prepared for the season. So, anonymous texter, that's not enough to convince you that the Phillies are not something for you to be worried about. Then I think you need to go find somebody else who's going to play into your fears, because I'm not going to be that guy. Maybe you should listen to that guy who doesn't eat while he's drinking at the same time. Maybe go listen to that guy, see if he can feed into your fears and misery and your woe, because I'm not going to do that here on 97.3 ESPN FM and 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank. See, coming up next, more Phillies Stickers talk. Mike McGarry, and then your text a little bit later this hour as well. Keep them coming in. 609-403-0973 and your DMs into 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank. See, I'm Josh Hennig, filling in for Mike Gill on a Monday afternoon.
Wake up weekday mornings from 6 to 10 a.m. with Unsportsmanlike on 97.3 ESPN with Evan Cohen, Super Bowl champion Chris Canty, and Michelle Small. Can't wake up without it. Brought to you by the Gallery Bar Book and Games at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City.
Champion Exteriors, Champion, the one you call first. Voted best of the best in Jersey Shores. For roofing and siding, windows and doors. 24-month financing, no payments, no interest. You're certified GAF elite contractors. Champion Dutch Exteriors. .com. Champion Exteriors, Champion, the one you call first. Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Brakes? We can save you 15% on that. We have OE quality Duralast brake pads and rotors in stock, ready for pickup or delivery. We also have calipers, brake fluid, tools, and anything else you'll need to do the job right. When you get Duralast pads and rotors together, you'll save 15%. It's just part of what makes us America's #1 brakes destination.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
When you open the BetParks app, you're in the zone. Winning is always a rush, but the money is in the moments. It's the confidence and underdogs covering, the tension before a clutch turnover, and the pride of a parlay paying off. It's another chance to win big with all-day action. Plus, win your first $10 bet and get $125 in sports bonus bets. You play for fun, you love to win. You bet. BetParks.
See 21 in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Ohio, or Maryland. Gambling problem? 1-800-GAMBLER.
Parks Casino, this is how you win. Action, great dining, and entertainment. Don't miss these world-class headliners coming to the Excite Center inside Parks Casino. Femmes of Rock, May 17th, and Almost Queen, June 14th. For tickets and a complete list of upcoming shows, visit parkscasino.com. Parks Casino, this is how you win. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Attention lovebirds, are you ready to take the next step in your journey together? Don't miss out on Sage Jewelers' exclusive engagement ring sale.
Sage has the perfect ring to symbolize your everlasting love with up to 50% off on their exquisite collection of engagement rings.
Hurry, this sale won't last forever. Visit Sage Jewelers today, Tilton Road, Northfield, or online at sagejewelers.com.
Sage Jewelers, the ultimate expression of love.
Find what you love, love what you find. A total wine and more. There's so much waiting for you. Spirits and thousands of wines. Walk right through the door. It's all here to explore. With guides in the know and prices so low, it just might blow your mind. You're gonna find what you love and love what you find.
Drink responsibly, B21.
It's buyback March at Matt Blatt Nissan. So bring any trade because AJ the Trade Man wants to buy your vehicle today. AJ pays $500 more than CarMax, so you get more dough for your ride. Brand new Sentra for just $199 per month lease with 0 security deposit. Only Matt Blatt Nissan has a 4-day love it or leave it return policy.
Oh yeah, it's on at Matt Blatt Nissan.
Or drive home with 0 down and 0 interest for 72 months. Plus, current Nissan owners get $1,000 owner loyalty cash back on every clearly marked new Nissan in stock. Have a job clearing $450 per week? We want to approve you today. And AJ wants your trade, but only at Matt MattBlackNissan.com. Great qualifications exist with approved credits. $1,389 per thousand finance. Not all will qualify. Go to MattBlackNissan.com for complete details or call 844-917-4758. Price includes all costs to be paid by consumer except for licensing, registration, and taxes. Central VIN RY 201059. Lease selling price $24,579. Expires 4624. It's on at Matt Black Nissan on the Black Horse Pike. Harbor Township.
With Progressive's Home Quote Explorer, you can check if you're paying too much for home insurance, because giving you options is the right thing to do.
Oh, you mean like when I let someone with less groceries go ahead in line? Sure, there's a part of me that thinks, if you only need 3 things, maybe go to a convenience store next time. And now they're sifting through coupons and my frozen foods are about to be not frozen.
But still, it's the right thing to do. So compare rates with Progressive's Home Quote Explorer. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and third-party insurers. Not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
Texting privacy policy and terms and conditions posted at textplan.us. Texting enrolls for recurring automated text marketing messages. Message and data rates may apply. Reply stop, opt out. Minimum purchase required. Interest accrues from date of purchase, but is waived if paid within promotional period. Go to windowappointmentnow.com for full offer details.
Attention homeowners. Do you know when to replace your windows? Feeling too hot or cold? Fog between the glass? Spending too much on expensive energy that literally goes out the window? It's time to replace. And right now you can get a free in-home window consultation and free price quote from Renewal by Andersen. Plus, with our March 31-day sales event, you can save $377 off every window and $777 off every door when you buy 4 or more units. Just text OWN to 200-300 for your free consultation on top quality affordable windows or patio doors for no dollars down, no monthly payments, and no interest for a year. That's right, you don't pay a dime for an entire year. Text OWN to 200-300 to save $377 off every window and $770 off every door when you buy 4 or more units. Hurry, this incredible 31-day sales offer is only in March. Text OWN to 200-300. Text the word OWN to 200-300. OWN to 200-300.
You're listening to The Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Here on the Sports Bash, Josh Hennick filling in for Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN FM and 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank Seattle. Busy weekend of basketball, March Madness. Sixers win a game on their road trip. Phillies prepare to come back home to start this season. We'll get into all that more. Mike McGarry of the Press Atlantic City. He is back from the busy weekend as well here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN FM and 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle City. Mike, welcome back. How you doing today? Mike, that was my fault. Nobody heard you speaking. I should have done a better job of making sure the board was set. Now everyone can hear you. How you doing?
I'm doing well, Josh. How are you today?
I'm doing good. So I got to start with you with the Phillies because I feel like mixed messages here. Maybe you can help us decipher. So on one hand, Thompson says yesterday that, hey, we want we want Rojas because it doesn't get too buried offensively. But then what they do today, Mike, they go out there and they put Marsh in the lineup instead of Rojas. So should we read anything in today's lineup, or is Rojas really going to be starting in center field?
Yeah, I think they're going to give Rojas a shot, at least through April and, May. I'd say Memorial Day to sort of claim that center field job for himself. I think maybe you're trying to get Marsh, so he missed the beginning of spring training, maybe just trying to get him as many at-bats as you can before the season starts. But I would suggest that you're probably going to see Johan Rojas center and Brandon Marsh in left field, on opening day.
Now, with that being said, Mike, is that the best scenario for the Phillies? Like, just because we think that's going to happen, as you said, Rojas to center, Marsh to left. Should that, though, be the alignment?
Yeah, I do think that it's worth a shot. I think it's the way to go right now. I mean, first of all, Rojas does make the team infinitely better defensively. I mean, when you actually go to the game, get to see him play in person, it's really amazing the balls he's able to track down in the gap. So they are a much better defensive team with him in the lineup. And I think you got to give him 2 months to try to hit here. I know he did not have a great spring training, but apparently he was working on some swing mechanics and things of that nature. He did hit in the regular season last year. He didn't hit the playoffs. He wasn't the only guy not to hit the playoffs. Most of the Phillies went cold against Arizona. That's why they lost the series. So I think they're going to give Johan Rojas every opportunity to
another mixed message we kind of got this weekend, Mike, is the Phillies went ahead and traded Jake Cave to the Rockies, and which I assume meant that Clemens was going to make the team, and then the Phillies option Clemens, Mike. So what is the bench going to look like for this team now?
Well, I think, you have Christian Pache, you have Merrifield, you have Garrett Stubbs, and you have Armando Sosa, right? That's basically your bench right there. I think they hold Pache. I don't believe they could have sent Pache down. He was in the same situation as Jake Cave, where they didn't have any options for him to go to the minor league. So basically, they traded Jake Cave for some cash considerations because if he didn't make the team, they were going to have to cut him, and they would have lost him for nothing. I think they were in the same situation with Pache, and this way you have Pache as some insurance in case Rojas does not get the job done in center field. And you and I both know there'll probably be an injury within the first 2 weeks of the season, and then Cody Clemens will be probably the first guy called back from AAA to fill that gap.
See, my only problem with this strategy, Mike, is the one thing that Pache can't do. He can't play infield, and I don't know how great I feel about the idea of Merrifield or Sosa playing first base in an emergency. You know what I mean? So it's like, how at least Clemens in Cave, whether I was so done with Cave, I wanted him gone, but even then, it's like I know that Cave and Clemens defensively can be at first base, whereas a guy like Sosa was awkward last year when he played a couple times, and I don't know if Merrifield's ever played first base.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the first base thing goes, I mean, Bohm, if you're in a pinch and you need somebody for a day or two, Bohm can go across and play first base. JT Realmuto can play some first base also. So, I think long term, if something happened there, Cody Clemens would be the answer. But short term, you have guys who can fill in. And if you're replacing your first baseman, you're probably in a whole lot of trouble anyway, because that means you're replacing Bryce Harper. So, I would expect Harper to be out there as much as he can.
Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City joining us here on a Monday edition of the Sports Bash here on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank. See how, speaking of the Phillies opening day, there's a lot of questions as well about, Taijuan Walker, Mike, because his velocity has been down. And so now Walker keeps saying, I'm fine, I feel great. But Mike, that velocity is a few ticks lower than it probably should be. Do we have any concerns about the rotation after the big three?
Yeah, I think you do. I mean, obviously Walker's going to start the season on the injured list. Spencer Turnbull is going to be the guy who fills in as that number 5 starter. You hope you get the Christopher Sanchez that you got back in August and September of last season. And then you have the big three up top. You hope Wheeler does what he does. Nola bounces back from a subpar season last year, and Ranger Suarez continues to do what he's done in the past. So, yeah, there are some questions about the starting rotation. Listen, Josh, when I look at the Phillies right now, the way the season starts, I think it's going to be a very, very interesting season. I mean, I think a lot of us are just assuming, write them in October and we'll see, where they are in the playoffs. I don't think it's going to be as easy for them to make the postseason as everybody's making it out to be. I mean, you've got 4 very good teams in the West. The Dodgers, the Padres, Arizona, and the Giants have really improved in the last couple of weeks with the signing of Blake Snell and Chapman, the big third baseman there. So then you'll have the Central Division champion, right? That'll be, a team guaranteed for a playoff spot. So that's 5 teams right there.
Right.
Then you have the Atlanta Braves and the Phillies, and I'll throw the Mets in there too. So I think you've got about 8 teams, maybe 9 teams, if you get 2 teams out of the Central competing for 6 spots. And I just think, we're fast forwarding. We're assuming the Phillies are going to make the postseason. We're assuming that it's going to be a red October again. I think this season is going to be very interesting for the Phillies. I believe they're going to make the playoffs, but I don't think it's the sure thing that everybody has a feeling about right now.
Mike, let's flip it over to the NBA and the basketball weekend because, the Sixers should have won the game on Friday. I mean, the Lakers had 20 turnovers in that game, and Tobias Harris looked like he didn't belong in the NBA. All of a sudden, he comes back and has a solid, good game yesterday. What do you read into the Dr. and Jekyll and Mr. Hyde act of Tobias Harris?
Yeah, I mean, he's consistently inconsistent, and that's been his problem during his whole tenure here, right? You see flashes of it, and you say, why can't you get that Tobias Harris, all the time? And then when he's bad, he's really, really bad. There doesn't seem to be any sort of in-between there. So it's just, it is Tobias Harris being Tobias Harris. It's one of the reasons why the Sixers haven't gotten out of the second round during his tenure here, because when he's good, he's good. But when he's bad, he's awful.
It's just so strange how an NBA player, Mike, can be like, he's missing free throws. He's missing layups on Friday. And then on Sunday, he's nailing threes from the corner. And it's just, I know you say he's consistently inconsistent, but it's like, shouldn't a guy who is in a contract year be playing for his next contract? I feel like Tobias Harris is playing for the retirement home.
Yeah, I mean, you would have expected him to be at his best in his sort of contract season. Tobias has not given you that. If anything, he's shown you all the warts where the people who said, why is this guy getting paid $45 million a year? You shouldn't give him a max contract. He's showing all the warts instead of all the good parts. So I agree with you there 100%. It has not been a great contract drive for Tobias Harris.
On the flip side, a guy who was a big part of the win yesterday and who's actually started to play well recently is Kelly Oubre. And I feel like, Mike, I said before you came on that if Oubre plays the way in like an important postseason game, right? Like a game in like the first, second round, if he goes out there and does what he has done in the last several games in terms of his effort and his production, they're going to win some playoff games.
Yeah, possibly. But my whole thing with Kelly Oubre is he's never done it before. And there's a reason why he's been on 7 NBA teams and he's averaged 20 points a game. NBA teams just don't get rid of 20-point scorers. Kelly Oubre is a 20-point scorer who's been on several NBA teams. So I don't think if you're putting your faith in Kelly Oubre for a spring playoff run for the Sixers, to spark the Sixers on a big playoff run, I think your faith is misguided there.
Is it me putting my faith in him or me saying that he might be more reliable as a third option than Tobias Harris?
Well, I mean, he might be more reliable of an option than Tobias Harris, but that still means you're in trouble. I mean, the boat's still sputtering. One part of the boat might be working harder than the other boat, but the ship is still sinking regardless. That's not going to make it to shore with Kelly Oubre and Tobias Harris aboard.
See, that's the strange part of all this, Mike, because it gets back to, you just said it, if you're depending on Oubre and Harris to step up, then you're already in trouble. So why on earth did the Sixers not do more at the deadline? Like, why didn't they go out and get a little more firepower than Buddy Hield and Kyle Lowry?
Yeah, I mean, I guess what they would tell you is, look, and I can sort of agree with this logic. When Embiid was there with this group, and now you're adding Buddy Hield and Kyle Lowry to this group, when Embiid was there, they were the number 2 team in the Eastern Conference behind the Boston Celtics. They had a tremendous net rating. Embiid looked like he was on his way to an MVP type season. They looked like a championship contender. Then Embiid got hurt and it all fell apart. So to me, yeah, I mean, I understand their logic. I hope that Embiid comes back healthy and rested for the playoffs. You add him to the cast that you had, and now you're adding in Buddy Hield, a good shooter, and you're adding Kyle Lowry and his veteran sort of know-how and playoff experience, and then you make a run for a title with that sort of cast. So to me, it's all about Embiid, and I understand, what they did at the deadline. I think they did what they could do to improve the team, but it's all about Embiid and how healthy he is, how far they go in April and May.
Mike, before I let you go, did you have a favorite game from the college basketball weekend? Like, was there a game or a moment that stood out to you in the first 4 days of March Madness?
Yeah, I mean, I like the Oakland. Obviously, the Oakland Kentucky upset was good to see. The Yale first round upset over Auburn was good to see. Last night's game with Texas A&M. That game that went to overtime.
Yep, Texas A&M Houston.
Right, was Texas A&M and Houston. Right, those were two heavyweights going back and forth at each other. That was just a tremendous game. So yeah, the tournament never seems to disappoint over its 4 days. And I guess now this is my favorite part of the tournament, the Thursday to Saturday that we've just lived. I mean, going forward, the Sweet 16, the Elite Eight, the Final Four is great, but the real fun is just the nonstop games from noon to midnight for these 4 days. And those were a couple of games that I thought were great. And the tournament just never seems to disappoint.
Yeah, it's absolutely wild how no matter how much you think you know going into these games, we don't really know, Mike. And that's the best part of it. We get to just enjoy the basketball after we rip up our brackets, right?
Right, exactly. I had a good looking bracket going until Baylor gets beat, yesterday. And now all of a sudden my bracket is out the window, basically. So yeah, everybody fills out the brackets and everybody gets their hopes crushed. But
right.
That's what makes March mad.
I mean, the only saving grace I have is my Final Four is intact, but that's the only thing I have intact, Mike. Like, that is literally the only thing.
Well, I mean, if you have your Final Four teams in there, you still have a shot, right? You start losing Final Four teams like I lost Baylor, and all of a sudden, your bracket is not worth the paper it's written on.
That's very true. Mike McGarry for the Press of Atlantic City at AC Press McGarry over on the Twitter X platform, and he'll be back on Wednesday when Mike Gill is back here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. Mike McGarry, appreciate you jumping on today.
All right, we'll see you down the road, Josh. Thank you.
We'll get back to the text board on the other side, 609-403-0973. Your DMs into the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank Seattle. And on Facebook, our question of the day, we asked you before the show today, what was your favorite game or games of the weekend, March Madness or the Sixers win? And we've gotten some interesting answers to that question as well. So we'll read off those answers as well as your text coming up on the other side here on the Sports Bash. Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN.
It's the Sports Bash with Mike Gill.
Do I have everybody's attention now?
On 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
Tax Talk with Straight Talk.
You give and you give. This tax season, you get with Straight Talk Wireless. You get a reliable 5G network and unlimited data and a Samsung Galaxy A14 included when you buy an extended silver unlimited plan. So you can give your janky phone to your kid.
Switch to Straight Talk. Find us at Walmart and StraightTalk.com. For network management practices, visit StraightTalk.com. Device offer ends 4/14/24. Taxes and fees apply.
Some days I cover up because of my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis. Now I'm hitting the road with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi, Risankizumab Risa, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. With Skyrizi, 3 out of 4 people achieved 90% clearer skin at 4 months. And Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor today about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis, and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKY-RIZI to learn more.
Hey, South Jersey contractors, is your current supplier failing on your railing? Dennisville Fence can supply or install whatever type of railing you need. Our full line of low-voltage lighting will knock your job out of the park. With materials delivered right to your home or job site, we make it easy to get you the products you need when you need them. Visit DennisvilleFence.com or our newest location at 229 Shore Road in Summers Point.
Pick up the phone and call Dennisville Fence. 1-800-499-FENCE.
Visit DennisvilleFence.com.
She posted about us just now.
Celebrities can't get enough of Biana's bespoke skincare line.
She has 147 million followers. How do we monetize?
She needs a social media associate to help her with the hype.
We should repost this. Do we need a hashtag?
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. You can schedule and conduct virtual interviews all from your employer dashboard. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Find what you love, love what you find. A total wine and more. There's so much waiting for you. Spirits and beer, thousands of wines. Walk right through the door. It's all here to explore. With guides in the know and prices so low, it just might blow your mind. You're gonna find what you love and love what you find.
Drink responsibly, B21.
Meet Cheryl. Hey, she's on vacation and lost in the moment. Unfortunately, so is her Chase debit card.
It's got to be somewhere.
Maybe she lost it at salsa night.
These skirts should have pockets.
Or maybe she lost it at Pilates.
3 and 2 and...
But she's not worried. With the Chase mobile app, she can lock her card till it turns up. Tools that help protect. One bank that puts you in control. Visit chase.com/checking. Chase, make more of what's yours.
Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Message and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank and a member FDIC.
At Bet365, we don't do ordinary. We believe that every sport should be epic. Every basket, every game, every point, every play. From the moments that are legendary to the ones that fly under the radar. Whether it's a three-pointer at the buzzer to tie the game, or a player goes 2 for 2 at the foul line. Whatever the sport, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. 21 plus only, must be present in New Jersey. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Terms and conditions apply.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Brakes? We can save you 15% on that. We have OE quality Duralast brake pads and rotors in stock, ready for pickup or delivery. We also have calipers, brake fluid, tools, and anything else you'll need to do the job right. When you get Duralast pads and rotors together, you'll save 15%. It's just part of what makes us America's #1 brakes destination.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Find what you love, love what you find. A total wine and more. There's so much waiting for you. Spirits and beer, thousands of wines. Walk right through the door. It's all here to explore. With guides in the know and prices so low, it just might blow your mind. You're gonna find what you love and love what you find.
Drink responsibly, B21.
Some people just know the best rate for you is a rate based on you with Allstate. Not one based on the driver who treats the highway like a racetrack and the shoulder like a passing lane. Why pay a rate based on anyone else? Get one based on you with DriveWise from Allstate.
Not available in Alaska or California, subject to terms and conditions. Rates are determined by several factors, which vary by state. In some states, participation in DriveWise allows Allstate to use your driving data for purposes of rating. While in some states, your rate could increase with high-risk driving. Generally, safer drivers will save with DriveWise. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
Oh yeah, it's on at Matt Black Nissan. If you're currently stuck in a loan or lease, AJ the Trade Man can get you released. Matt Black Nissan.com. It's on at Matt Black Nissan on the Black Horse Pike. Carver Township.
It's the Sports Bash with Mike Gill
And I am the voice of the voiceless.
on 97.3 mobile app.
250 here on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle City. Our basketball conversation with Mike McGarry has been brought to you. Now, the New Jersey Lottery, quick draw for the New Jersey Lottery is now quick draw progressive with a free shot at winning a rolling jackpot. There's a free chance to win the growing jackpot every time you play with the New Jersey Lottery. Get to your guys' messages over on the text board at 609-403-0973. Your DMs into 973 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank Seattle. Also talk NBA coming up in about 10 minutes from now with NBA insider Brandon Scoopy Robinson. We're going to talk about the Sixers Eastern Conference and more here on 97. Also, we'll get to some of the stuff that Howie Rose said at the owners down. He had some interesting comments that you will get to as well. Right now, I mentioned earlier the question of the day was, what were your favorite game or games from the weekend? Was it March Madness? Was it the Sixers win? What is high on your bracket, right? If you use that term. So I got some messages coming in. Geoff from Ocean City chimes in and says, without question, it's March Madness this weekend. I take vacation days the first 2 days of the tournament every year. I watch Thursday games in the casino on the boardwalk. So Geoff from Ocean City, he wasn't just saying the March Madness was his favorite. He took days off from his job. That's commitment. That is not just saying that's your favorite. That's a commitment. He made a commitment to March Madness. Mike chimes in and says, Sixers with the big win. Yeah, man, the Sixers with the win yesterday was pretty big for them. You know, it's interesting because, you know, the Sixers, they have really been up and down lately. And to see them get that win over the Clippers, a playoff team, it gives you a little more hope that this team is not completely far gone, right? You at least get a little hope that the Sixers, with the win against the Clippers, now they got the Kings tonight. Hear that game right here on 97.3 ESPN. You at least get a little hope that moving forward, it's not totally falling apart. Another message chiming in from Rich chimes in, says, neither Sixers are March Madness. Flyers are continuing to improve. They're in the playoff mix, young, and they hustle every game, says Rich. Well, yeah, the thing with Rich's point, and I'm not saying he's wrong, it's a little deflating when you have 3 straight games where you got points. You beat Toronto last Tuesday. Then you get the 1 point in overtime against Carolina on Thursday. You beat Boston on Saturday. You have all these good vibes running, right? And then Felix Sandstrom goes out there and embarrasses you in a 4-1 loss. Probably should have been more than 4-1 by the end of that game, the way Sandstrom was playing. So, you know, for me at least, I kind of look at the Flyers right now as a little bit of a roller coaster ride still. They're a playoff team, and they're going to make a playoff run, and they only got one more game left of this gauntlet of games before they can kind of maybe catch their breath a little more, because they got the Rangers tomorrow night, and then you got Thursday against Montreal, Saturday against Chicago, Monday against the Islanders. Once you get past the Islanders game, it's a lot smoother of a run to the end of the season, and you should by then have either positioned yourself to lock up a playoff spot or be in position to maybe make sure the teams behind you don't have a chance to catch you in the playoff hunt, right? So that's kind of how I look at it. I look at with the Flyers as they are a team that has positioned themselves to make a run. But listen, I don't blame Rich for saying, you know, hey, it's the Flyers. It's not the Sixers. It's not March Madness. Because at the end of the day, I made this comment last week here on 97.3 ESPN when, you know, we spoke to Keith Jones on the locker room with Billy Schweim 2 Saturdays ago when I was co-host with Billy. You know, I asked him, you know, what is it like for the Flyers to be considered the best team in Philadelphia? It's legitimate. The Flyers are a better team right now than the Sixers are. But the problem is, I think there are still a lot of people who look at the Flyers and they say, I don't know if I can invest in them. I don't know if I can fully buy in. I think that apprehension by some of the fans is definitely keeping the Flyers from maybe I guarantee you, if the Flyers win a first-round playoff series, the city is going to go orange and black immediately. But I think there's a lot of people who still have some, you know, little drama from the Sixers disappointing them, the Flyers disappointing them in the past. All right, more NBA talk coming up next with Scoop B Robinson here on 97.3 ESPN.
Breaking news, the Birds are going to Brazil. Phillies Sports Trips is excited to announce that they've already reserved hundreds of flights and have some epic plans in the works for an incredible trip to Sao Paulo with round-trip airfare, airport, and game day transfers, hotel, tailgate, and tickets to the game. Phillies Sports Trips is making the most exciting Philly experiences easy for you to plan. Visit phillysportstrips.com today to book your trip and stay tuned for the full Eagles schedule coming in May.
Tax Talk with Straight Talk.
You give and you give. This tax season, you get with Straight Talk Wireless. You get a reliable 5G network and unlimited data and a new Samsung Galaxy A15 for just $99. So you can give your janky phone to your kid. Good talk.
Switch to Straight Talk for plans starting as low as $25 a line per month for 4 lines. Find us at Walmart and StraightTalk.com. For network management practices, visit StraightTalk.com. Device offer ends 4/14/24. In-store activation on single Silver Unlimited plan or higher required. Family plan discount with 4 lines all on the Silver Unlimited plan. Taxes and fees apply.
Listen up, New Jersey and Philly car buyers. Matt Blatt Mitsubishi has only 3 questions for you. Do you have a job? Do you want a new car? Do you want 0 down? Why would you buy a used car or pay high interest rates? If you have a job clearing $450 per week, Matt Blatt Mitsubishi wants to approve you. So bring any trade and drive home in a brand new Mitsubishi, like the all-new 2023 Mitsubishi Outlander with 0 down and 0% financing for 60 months. Plus a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited warranty for the price of most used cars with 0 down. Matt Blatt Mitsubishi keeps the rates low. With our 4-day love it or leave it return policy, you can't go wrong. Simply Matt Blatt Mitsubishi. Rate qualifications exist with approved credit. $1,666 per 1,000 finance on in-stock 2023 Mitsubishi Outlanders. Not all will qualify. Go to mattblattmitsubishi.com for complete details or call 844-946-2315. Price includes all costs to be paid by consumer, except for licensing, registration, and taxes. Expires 4/1/24. Matt Blatt Mitsubishi in the heart of Glassboro for 30 years.
Life can be tough, and sometimes it's hard to find someone who will listen. But we want you to know there's always someone you can turn to, day or night. The 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is completely confidential and here for you 24/7 every day of the year. You don't have to struggle alone. Call 988 and let us help. We're here ready to listen because your life matters. Call or text 988 or chat at 988lifeline.org/chat. A message from New Jersey Human Services.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Brakes? We can save you 15% on that. We have OE quality Duralast brake pads and rotors in stock, ready for pickup or delivery. We also have calipers, brake fluid, tools, and anything else you'll need to do the job right. When you get Duralast pads and rotors, America's #1 brakes destination.
Do you love a good cigar almost as much as your family? Well, maybe that's an exaggeration, but you can find that perfect cigar at Smokers Haven. With 5 New Jersey locations, Smokers Haven has the finest selection of cigars in the area, like Ashton, My Father's, Romeo and Julieta, Monte Cristo, and more. All from the finest tobacco leaves and hand-rolled by the world's finest cigar makers. All locations are fully open. Stop in and let them help you find the perfect cigar to pair with your life. See all they have and their locations at smokershavennj.com.
Good folks at Wendy's have a revolutionary new product for you. Introducing the new Orange Dreamsicle Frosty. It's like a time machine that takes you all the way back to now, the year 2024. It's the classic creamy, orangey flavor you remember. Dare I say, it's new-timey. It's the flavor you grew up with, just all grown up. Head over to your local Wendy's establishment and get yours while supplies last. The new Orange Dreamsicle Frosty. Here for the now, for now.
Limited time only at participating Wendy's.
Hey, it's John Marks. Growing up here, I know that the fans get the last word. The fans have spoken, and real Philly sports fans love the BetParx Casino and Sportsbook app. It's the only online casino and sportsbook app that I recommend. 24/7 live casino action. Join me now and download the BetParx app, and all your favorite casino games are right at your fingertips. Bet on all your favorite sports. Philly hoops, Philly hockey, college basketball, and more. Odds, bets, slots, and games right in your pocket. Play the hottest online slots or play blackjack, roulette, baccarat, or Texas Hold'em with a live dealer right on your phone. Get winning on the BetParx app. It's so simple. New users, join me right now. Just download the app and get up to $1,000 casino bonus back if you're not a winner in your first 24 hours. Details on the BetParx app or at betparx.com. New users only. Casino bonus must be wagered. Terms and conditions apply. You must be 21 and in Pennsylvania or New Jersey. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Save thousands at Matt Blatt Catering. Kia. Get out of your old trade today, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. Go to mattblattkianj.com for more details. That's mattblattkianj.com.
It's got to be a
Matt Blatt Kia, home of the Philadelphia Eagles, Sixers, and Flyers. 97.3 ESPN, WENJ, WENJ HD, Millville, Atlantic City, a Town Square media station serving all of South Jersey. This is the Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. Now live from inside the Ocean Casino Resort Studio, here's Mike Gill.
Josh Nick filling for Mike Gill on Monday edition of the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. This hour of the Sports Bash being brought to you by Broadlease Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning. Broadlease is your trusted source for heating and plumbing service and installation for generations. Call them at 609-390-3907. We'll get back to the text board a little bit later this hour at 609-403-0973. Your DMs into the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. But as promised, right now, we're going to talk with the one and only, the man, the myth, the legend, NBA insider Brandon Scoop B. Robinson is back here on 97.3 ESPN. My friend, welcome back. How you doing today?
Man, I'm good. How you feeling?
I'm doing pretty good. I mean, it always helps when the Sixers get a win over the weekend and makes people a little extra pep in their step. You know, a lot of basketball consumed over the weekend, so it's a good time of year. I'm sure you're consuming more than enough, right?
Clap your hands, everybody. Yes,
right.
Win, and it against the Clippers. You know, that was James Harden's golden ticket to win, and they didn't get it done. But they're in very different seating. I'll use the word bracket just for the occasion, but in different seeds within their conference and their division, and the Sixers got to win. Still in 8th place, 4-6 in their last 10, but ultimately, they're playing contention. Got to get out and try to dig themselves out of that, and hopefully Joel Embiid comes back sooner rather than later.
One of the things I wanted to ask you about was because you were on another media platform a couple of weeks ago, and you talked about how this time without Embiid is forcing maybe some of these guys to come together and maybe find themselves a little bit. And aside from yesterday, Tobias Harris has not played well for the last month. But the one guy who has played well in the last few weeks, I think that reflects what you were talking about, is Kelly Oubre. Because you look back on these last several games when they have won games, when they have played well. I mean, even the Lakers game, which you could argue they should have won with the Lakers having 20 turnovers in the game. You know, Kelly Oubre has really looked like he has found himself again. And that combination of him and Maxey or him and Kyle Lowry, it seems to really be finding some legs here.
Yeah, I talked to Cam a couple of weeks ago, and he's told me that he's really enjoyed his time in Philly, mainly because he feels right at home. This is a team, I can tell you straight up, Daryl Morey has wanted Kelly Oubre since August 12th. Of 2023, and I know that during the time in the summer where a lot of players are in LA working out at the run in UCLA, this is a time when a lot of general managers and front office people spend time scouting and planning for the next season. And ultimately Kelly Oubre, he fit like a glove. I was a little nervous when that whole thing Center City happened with the bike accident, but he came back. And he's done what he's supposed to do and has played bigger in the absence of Joel Embiid. But you also look at some of the other guys who have, been filling in stopgaps for them. Not just Kelly Oubre, Mobamba, Campaign, and Kyle Lowry, as you mentioned before. Tyrese Maxey can't do it all by himself. And I'm hopeful that this game that they played against the Clippers, it gave Tobias some energy. I want them to come back to the Wells Fargo Center and hear Matt Cord, the public address announcer, go, Tobias Harris. And I'm looking forward to seeing, some spirited and encouraging basketball, to close the season as they're waiting for Joel Embiid to come back.
And I'm not trying to dig a hole for Tobias Harris necessarily, but usually, and you know this better than anyone, when a guy's in a contract year, they're usually playing for the next contract. And at times, Tobias Harris looks like he's playing for retirement. Like he looks like something is wrong there. And it's just like I'm watching him on late Friday night, right? He misses 2 free throws. He misses a layup, and it's like, you know how the fans are in this city. Like they don't understand how someone can be in the NBA and play so poorly in one game, and the next game he looks like he is totally focused against the Clippers.
He's human. I take that and raise you this for the people who are listening to this afternoon drive show in the Delaware Valley, South Jersey, Philadelphia, and in the greater area. Do you bring your 100% to work every day? No. You're also not paid millions of dollars to do so, and I think that's where it gets a little dicey. But I'll say this to you: Tobias Harris, as much as the people in the Philadelphia area may critique and criticize, I can tell you that, the last couple of trading deadlines, his name has come up a lot, and other front office people across the league's conversations with the 76ers. Even dating back to when Tyrese Halliburton almost became a Philadelphia 76er. The conversation with the Sacramento Kings was, the Kings wanted Tobias Harris. I mean, Tobias Harris, before he came to Philadelphia, had lived a life, whether that's in Milwaukee, whether that's with the Orlando Magic, whether that's with the Clippers and what have you. But I also realized that it's a marathon, not a sprint. And Tobias Harris, for all the people who may, be disappointed or frustrated, you can point to the last couple of seasons where, he has been on point. And one of those years arguably was an all-star caliber season if Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons didn't exist. So I would encourage Philadelphia 76ers fans to be patient, but I also marvel at the fact that Tyrese Maxey has been playing MVP caliber basketball most of the season. And I think when you look at Kyle Lowry playing alongside Tyrese Maxey, it reminds me, not comparing, but it reminds me of the 2008 Boston Celtics when Rajon Rondo was the starting point guard, and former Sixer assistant Sam Cassell often finished games, or at least was the mentor to Rajon Rondo. And I think Kyle Lowry, being in that position as a backup point guard, I think Kyle Lowry is the extension of Sam Cassell that Tyrese Maxey had his first couple of seasons in Philadelphia, where Sam was basically was encouraging Tyrese, knowing when to shoot, knowing when to score will make you a great point guard. So I like the mix there, and we'll see what happens.
Talk with NBA insider Brandon Scoop B. Robinson here on the Sports Bash. Josh Hennick filling in for Mike Gill on Monday afternoon on 97.3 ESPN, at Scoop B on the Twitter X platform, also over on Instagram. And don't forget about his new program, No Nonsense, with Tim Thomas and Scoop B over on YouTube. You mentioned about Kyle Lowry, and I said a little tongue in cheek last week when I was saying, if I got into a bar fight, I would want Kyle Lowry on my side, but he really is Philly tough. You see him dive over the scorer's table last week. You see the way he's on the sideline yesterday, encouraging his teammates, really getting into guys like, hey, keep doing what you're doing to Mo Bamba, right? It's little things like that that people don't realize. I see you laughing, but I'm right. It's the little things that people don't realize how important a guy does for a team.
Yeah, I've been up close and around Kyle Lowry for a long time. He Cardinal Dockery's own, North Philly's own, Villanova's own, homegrown. I first really was allowed to see Kyle Lowry up close and personal when I actually went to a Boston Celtics Miami Heat game as a fan. And I sat with the owner of the Celtics and his wife. We were having a meeting and discussing some things. And when I was seated, this is a live programming, so I'll give you the edited version. But basically, right before an inbounds pass, you hear Kyle Lowry say to the referee, man, I don't even want to effing talk to you because I know you're not going to give me the effing answer that I want to hear. So whatever. And I was like, whoa. Because, often when you go to games, you're seated higher up. Now, I go to locker rooms. I have conversations off court, outside of the arena. But it was cool, me being who I am, taking the reporter hat off and just sitting there and kind of just watching and listening and observing. that moment really made me laugh, and it kind of gave me a glimpse into the life of Kyle Lowry, and I saw how that carried into the playoffs when they ultimately made it to the NBA Finals, and he found his way to Philly this year. Kyle is very respected amongst his peers. I know that last season at a point he contemplated retirement after a certain point because I've heard that over the last couple of seasons that's something that he's talked about, he's thought about. But ultimately, I'm glad that how many people can say that if this is the last year or the last couple of years, you can do it in your home city. I think that's pretty remarkable. Dwayne Wade kind of did that in Chicago before he found his way back to Miami. Chicago's where he's from, but where he is from. But I think that dive on the table was kind of cool because at a point you're grown, you're towards the end, you're not trying to break nothing up. And he did it against his team. This is his Miami Heat, former Miami Heat team. But ultimately, I think Kyle Lowry is in an interesting situation as the mentor. Many people thought that wasn't going to work because you already had a point guard in Maxey there. You had a Shake Milton and you have Campaign. But he found his role seamlessly. And I think obviously being connected to Nick Nurse during their time in Toronto fits like a glove, and he's doing what he's supposed to do.
You mentioned at the end there, as well, I was going to get to about that is, the one person who was very confident that Lowry was going to fit in with this team was Nick Nurse. Nick Nurse from day one was 100% like, this guy is going to have a role. I mean, even as far to say that Kyle Lowry was competing for minutes with Buddy Hield, people were like, Buddy Hield should be starting. And yet you're seeing as progressed that Nick Nurse ended up being right. So, do we need to give Nick Nurse maybe more credit for helping this Sixers team stay afloat?
No.
Okay, why? Why?
Because Nick Nurse doesn't have to be overstated. What's understood doesn't have to be spoken about. And I think the less attention you bring to it, the more it sneaks up on the opponents.
Interesting. Because, in Philadelphia, they hated Brett Brown. They hated Doc Rivers. And the jury is still out on Nick Nurse. And I think there's a lot of fans out there who are not fully sure how to fully feel. Like, they want to like him. You know what I mean? They want to embrace him, but they're not sure right now. It's kind of like the jury is still out.
And that's part of my reasoning, too. I personally, I thought Brett Brown stayed too long in Philadelphia. I think he was the Jeff Fisher of the NBA for a period of time, except Jeff Fisher took the Tennessee Titans to a Super Bowl. They didn't win against them, but you have that. As far as Doc Rivers, personally, you can say what you want. I feel like Philadelphia disrespected Doc Rivers a lot, but I think they used his past with the Clippers against them. But I think ultimately there was a lot there that was beyond Doc Rivers' control, namely James Harden, and namely I think there was a power struggle from up top all the way to the floor. And I think that if any other person was put in that situation in Philadelphia, Mike D'Antoni was the favorite before Doc Rivers and the Clippers parted ways. I think Mike D'Antoni probably would have been in the same situation, but shoulda, coulda, woulda. I think for Nick Nurse, he's been to the finals, as was Doc Rivers, but I think the jury is still out on the final result, and I think that's why the praise should be limited because as far as I'm concerned, until the Sixers go to the finals, Brett Brown, Doc Rivers, and Nick Nurse are in the same position until Nick Nurse takes them to the finals.
Talk with NBA insider Brandon Scoopy Robinson here on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea City. Let's step away from the Sixers specifically here for a minute because I want to ask you about the Eastern Conference in general because I think most people believe the Celtics are like the apex predator of the East. But what is the team that you think should be, not in terms of standings and wins, but I mean, who is the team that is, in your mind, the real number two if we take out the wins and losses?
I think it's where it's supposed to be. I think the Bucks should be number one, but they started off slow and they picked it up. The only other team I think fits in that box is the Sixers if Joel Embiid wasn't hurt. If you're taking wins and losses out of it, on paper, the Sixers have a dynamite squad. Once Embiid comes back competitive, I think the Knicks have played well. I think the Knicks are up there. You asked me to pick one, it's like, or pick one second seed. It's like Lay's potato chips. You can't have just one. But I think any iteration of the teams that I said, the Sixers, the Knicks, the Bucks, and then there's some other teams that I think have played well. I still don't. I think, we looked at last season and we looked at the play-in tournament, and the Miami Heat made history by basically going to the play-in tournament and going to the finals. But I don't think personnel-wise, I'm not sure on them this year, but I don't sleep on them, if that makes sense. So if I had to pick a number two, I'd say the Bucks are as advertised at number two. And if I'm the Bucks, I like being number two because everybody's paying attention to the Celtics. But I think the Knicks have played inspired basketball this season. But I think the Bucks have been more playoff tested and have over the last 5 years. And, like the Celtics, have made an appearance in the finals within the last few years. So I like 1 and 2 as it's advertised, as it's stated in the NBA standings in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, the thing with the Celtics that I keep coming back to is they don't have the depth they've had in years past. They're not as this, the 6 through 11 is not as great as it's been in year past. And I just have to wonder, could that bite them in a playoff series? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think you're onto something. I think, former Sixer Drew Holiday, picks up I think Drew Holiday for that Celtics, for the Celtics is everything that we thought Malcolm Brogdon was going to be last season and wasn't. And then you look at Kristaps Porzingis now in Boston uniform. I feel like Boston dodged the bullet because Robert Williams hasn't been healthy since right before they went to the finals a couple of years ago. So I hear you. But I also think that the difference between this team under Joe Mazzulla and the team that they had that went to the finals under Ime Udoka is I think they're more of an offensive juggernaut than they are a defensive presence. But you see some resemblance of that defensive DNA that was under Ime Udoka in years past, that they're trying to find their own way under Mazzulla. But I understand your apprehension, particularly because Porzingis has been playing hurt for a few years. I spent a lot of time with that Wizards organization over the last couple of years when he was there. And in my opinion, he played a lot of meaningless basketball minutes. But what people didn't see was how when healthy, he played well. The difference between him in a Wizards uniform and him in a Boston Celtics uniform is that there's less attention and pressure on him because you've got both Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum in that starting five next to Porzingis. And so you depend on him to use his length by blocking shots and scoring when need be, particularly when Tatum and Brown are shifting off the double team and kicking out in the double team. But I like my chances with a Drew Holiday, who's an NBA champion. But your apprehension about 6 to 11, I think this is where guys like Sam Hauser has stepped up as the Celtics seem to seemingly be giving their starting five some rest. Sam Hauser was an unknown maybe 2-3 years ago to some, and he's been playing good basketball there. I think this is where you're now seeing their bench, like the Sixers. You're seeing them stretch out their roster to see who's going to be what come playoff time.
Before I let you go, I do have a bit of a hot take for you. And you may agree or disagree with it, which is fine. We are friends. We are allowed to agree or disagree. I think that Jokic being the far away MVP favorite is a disgrace, because to me, the MVP in the NBA should be Shai Gilgeous-Alexander or Anthony Edwards. I mean, these guys are having phenomenal seasons. Their teams are right there with the Nuggets. And I feel like we're giving Jokic this well, you're the name. You're the guy we know. Whereas, why do we have to give it to the guy we know? I thought it was MVP, not most known player. I thought it was most valuable player.
Why would I disagree? I feel the same exact way you do. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, to me, has been the NBA's MVP this season because it's not just Shai Gilgeous-Alexander scoring a bunch. Not only is he playing his role, but his team has been in first place for most of the season, and they're playing in Oklahoma. And I think when you have a combination of a media vote, former player vote, or however which way they're scaling, I don't vote, so I don't have a say, but I don't vote in the NBA. I vote politically. But when you look at the situation in Oklahoma, I spent about 10 days in Oklahoma last season, and one, I got the most work done in my life while being on the road. Two, I got the best sleep in my life overall. But three, I spent a lot of time. My access was crazy in Oklahoma, and I've seen how Coach Mike has built this team under Sam Presti, and I really am excited for their future. Shea has been playing phenomenal basketball alongside teammates Jalen Williams, Luke Dort, and also Chet Holmgren. And I'll add this. You know how people, at least in the States, talk about how USA basketball has propelled players going into the regular season in the NBA?
Yeah.
I'm willing to argue that Canadian basketball has helped Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, Lou Dort, and others, Dylan Brooks as well, going into the regular season. And I think that's not talked about enough.
I mean, Canadian basketball has come a long, long way from what it was when you and I remember it 30 years ago. That's for sure. So,
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I just don't understand the obsession people have with, oh, I recognize this guy. It's just laziness to me. I don't.
Well, I'll add this. In this instance, where you look at Nikola Jokic and people believe that he is the MVP of the season, I think what's different this year, as opposed to last year when everybody was discussing the difference between Embiid and Jokic, is that in the finals last year, we talked about how the smaller markets were a thing, right? Well, in this case, Jokic playing in Denver is still a smaller market, but so too is Anthony Edwards and Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. I think that Denver is just more familiar to people because they're the reigning NBA champs. And I think people are wowed by how much Jokic can do as a Swiss Army knife. I think people look at Jokic as he's solid. They look at him as he can do all of these things: pass, rebound, run the break, control the team in the half-court set. And then they look at Shea as just flashy, but he's both style and substance in that flash that people, depict. And, I didn't talk about Anthony Edwards, but, even going to Minnesota, it's a running joke like with Stephon Marbury and me. I told him when I was taking the trip to Minnesota last season, he goes, "You are?" I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "Good luck. It's cold as hell out there." And when I got off the plane, it's 4 degrees. And I text him like, "Yo, you wasn't even lying." But the crazy thing is, like, once you get past that and you walk into the arena and you watch basketball and you look at the fan base, like, there's a lot of support. But Anthony Edwards is like, he knows his role. And I just think he's a throwback to 2000s basketball. Like, he flourished back then with the Tracy McGrady's, the Vince Carters, and whomever else was in that conversation. But I just think that people have this small market bias, and I feel like on one hand, Jokic has kind of and the Nuggets have kind of forced people to watch smaller market basketball. But on the other hand, guys like Shea and guys like Anthony Edwards have to fight 10 times as hard to get the attention of the national perspective because they're so sold on Jokic. But I think that if the Thunder and the Timberwolves kick butt in the playoffs, you can't deny that.
So true. By the way, speaking of Stephon Marbury, I believe he was your first big guest on No Nonsense with Tim Thomas and Scoop B over on YouTube. Before I let you go, tell the folks about the new project.
Former Sixer, former everything. He's been on a couple different teams, but 13-year NBA vet, Villanova standout. Tim Thomas and I started a new show called No Nonsense with Tim Thomas and Scoop B. We dropped the first episode a couple of weeks ago. Second episode actually drops Wednesday with another guest. It's been great. We've been on a press run the last couple of weeks in New York and just been preaching the basketball gospel, if you will, discussing a myriad of different topics with guests, and it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, and you finally found somebody who was taller than you.
Yeah, right. I'm 6'5", he's 6'10", and we both talk a lot of sugar honey iced tea, so it's a perfect matchup.
Absolutely. My friend, Brandon Scoopy Robinson at Scoopy on the Twitter X platform, over as well, the full Scoopy experience on Instagram. And again, the program is No Nonsense with Tim Thomas and Scoopy over. Catch it, the episodes over on YouTube. My friend, appreciate you jumping on today. Appreciate the extended time, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you for the opportunity to be myself, brother. I'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely. Josh Hennick here filling in for Mike Yell here on 97.3 ESPN FM and 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank. See a lot of great stuff there from Brandon Scoopy Robinson. We'll check back on the text board. Coming up next, 609-403-0970. That is the text board and your DMs into the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank, Sea Isle City.
It's the Sports Bash with Mike Gill.
Keeping the fans entertained and happy.
On 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
Listen up, New Jersey and Philly car buyers. Matt Blatt Mitsubishi has only 3 questions for you. Do you have a job? Do you want a new car? Do you want 0 down? Why would you buy a used car or pay high interest rates? If you have a job clearing $450 per week, Matt Blatt Mitsubishi wants to approve you. So bring any trade and drive home in a brand new Mitsubishi, like the all-new 2023 Mitsubishi Outlander with 0 down and 0% financing for 60 months. Plus a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited warranty for the price of most used cars with 0 down. Matt Blatt Mitsubishi keeps the rates low. With a 4-day love it or leave it return policy, you can't go wrong. Simply Matt Blatt Mitsubishi. Rate qualifications exist with approved credit. $16.66 per 1,000 finance on in-stock 2023 Mitsubishi Outlanders. Not all will qualify. Go to mattblattmitsubishi.com for complete details or call 844-946-2315. Price includes all costs to be paid by consumer, except for licensing, registration, and taxes. Expires 4/1/24. Matt Blatt Mitsubishi in the heart of Glassboro for 30 years.
To thank you for 40 unforgettable years, Dell Technologies is celebrating with anniversary savings on their most popular tech. For a limited time only, save on select next-gen PCs like the XPS 13 Plus, powered by Intel Core processors and more. Plus, curate your dream setup with great deals on select monitors, mice, and more must-have electronics and accessories. When you shop online at Dell.com/deals, you'll have access to leading-edge technology and free shipping on everything. Again, that's Dell.com/deals.
When you open the BetParx app, you're in the zone. Winning is always a rush, but the money is in the moments. It's the anticipation of another face card, the thrill of an extra spin, and the pure joy of a jackpot. It's all your favorite games at your fingertips. Plus, get up to $1,000 casino bonus back if you're down in the first 24 hours. You play for fun, you love to win. You bet. BetParx.
Must be 21 and in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Ohio, or Maryland. Gambling problem? 1-800-GAMBLER.
One night, one stage. Country music's hottest supergroup, the Frontmen, featuring Richie McDonald, formerly of Lone Star. Baby, I'm Larry Stewart, lead singer of Restless Heart. Tim Rushlow, formerly of Little Texas. Friday, March 29th, the Excite Center at Parks Casino. The voices that brought you 3 decades of #1 country hits live. On sale now at parkscasino.com. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Marcus is a connoisseur of anything that's free, so he was happy to read the disclaimer on TurboTax Free Edition.
Roughly 37% of taxpayers qualify. Form 1040 and limited credits only. See how at TurboTax.com. That's me.
File your taxes 100% free with TurboTax Free Edition and get your max refund guaranteed. See if you qualify to file for free at TurboTax.com. See max refund guarantee details at TurboTax.com/guarantees.
Drive like a champion when you lease with the winning team at BMW of Atlantic City. We're dishing out the ultimate assist of game-changing lease offers on our all-pro lineup of ultimate driving machines, like a new 2024 X3 xDrive 30i. Lease for $649 a month. 36 months, 0 security deposit at BMW of Atlantic City. Closer than you think. Located in Egg Harbor Township. Online at bmwatlanticcity.com. For more details, call 609-316-2393.
Tax Talk with Straight Talk.
You give and you give. This tax season, you get with Straight Talk Wireless. You get a reliable 5G network and unlimited data and a Samsung Galaxy A14 included when you buy an extended silver unlimited plan. So you can give your janky phone to your kid.
Switch to Straight Talk. Find us at Walmart and StraightTalk.com. For network management practices, visit StraightTalk.com. Device offer ends 4/14/24. Taxes and fees apply.
Attention lovebirds, are you ready to take the next step in your journey together? Don't miss out on Sage Jewelers' exclusive engagement ring sale.
Sage has the perfect ring to symbolize your everlasting love with up to 50% off on their exquisite collection of engagement rings.
Hurry, this sale won't last forever. Visit Sage Jewelers today, Tilton Road, Northfield, or online at sagejewelers.com.
Sage Jewelers, the ultimate expression
With Progressive's Home Quote Explorer, you can check if you're paying too much for home insurance, because giving you options is the right thing to do.
Oh, you mean like when I let someone with less groceries go ahead in line? Sure, there's a part of me that thinks, if you only need 3 things, maybe go to a convenience store next time. And now they're sifting through coupons and my frozen foods are about to be not frozen.
But still, it's the right thing to do. So compare rates with Progressive's Home Quote Explorer. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and third-party insurers. Not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
To celebrate the new Quick Draw Progressive from the New Jersey Lottery, give it up for the rolling jackpot.
The jackpot keeps rolling, rolling, jackpot rolling. Higher and higher it's growing, all right.
Quick Draw is now Quick Draw Progressive with a free shot at winning a rolling jackpot with every play.
Quick Draw, jackpot, jackpot, Quick Draw. Play today. All right.
Play Quick Draw Progressive today.
Anything can happen in Jersey.
Must be 18 or older to buy a lottery ticket. Please play responsibly. If you or somebody knows a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
You're listening to the Sports Bash with Mike Gill.
Never thought this radio stunt would catch on so big.
On 97.3 ESPN.
And Josh Eddy hanging out with you on 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank Seattle. For the Come Football at 4, powered by the Inside First podcast. Geoff Mosher joins us as Howie Roseman missed the media some today. Meeting down in Orlando in our football conversation today, being brought to you by Bet365. Whatever the sport, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Interesting because the question we asked earlier at 973 ESPN on Facebook and earlier in the show here on 973 ESPN FM was, what was your favorite game or teams for the weekend? Was it March Madness or the Sixers win? And David chimed in and said, neither, none of the above. I am still celebrating that the Sixers, the Steelers dumped Kenny Pickett on the Eagles. Better hope Jalen Hurts doesn't get hurt. Obviously a little tongue-in-cheek, but, David kind of leans right into one of the conversations that I did want to have today about the Eagles because of the fact that, thank you, David, and to everybody who's been chiming in throughout the day. Of course, you can join the conversation at 609-403-0973 in your DMs into the 973 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank Seattle. But, one of the topics that Howie talked about with the media today was about the quarterback position. And, Howie leaned into the idea that, hey, we have always valued the backup quarterback. But he also, I don't know why he felt. Now, I don't have the actual question that was asked to Howie before he made this answer. But he said that, Kenny Pickett does not affect anything with Jalen Hurts in terms of, him being the franchise quarterback. He said, quote, we have tremendous faith and trust in Jalen, and we communicate with him about everything we do, just as we do with a bunch of our players to give them a heads up so we can welcome them to the team and know what's going on. And, when Howie was asked about Tanner McKee, who, a lot of people were wondering what his role on this team is going to be, Howie said that, quote, I think Tanner had a phenomenal preseason, who is a talented guy, but Kenny Pickett is also a talented guy that obviously, like all quarterbacks, it includes ones in the draft we do work on because you never know when you have the opportunity to get these guys to continue to build depth throughout the roster with talented guys and maybe the most important position on the field. We feel like it makes sense. And that, to me, that is really the crux of what the Pickett acquisition is, David. And that is, it's the idea that the Eagles are basically telling you that we didn't bring Pickett in here with anything to do with Jalen Hurts. We brought Pickett in here with the idea that we have the opportunity to bring in a guy that when we evaluated him coming into the draft, that we thought he could be a good NFL quarterback. Now, I think the problem with Kenny Pickett is that Kenny Pickett should have never been a first-round pick. Kenny Pickett should have never have been put in the position to be the next guy, right? I think that's the problem with Pickett. I think Pickett has talent, obviously. He's not a bum necessarily. I mean, you don't throw for 4,000 passing yards in college if you can't play football. But I think there are two aspects to Kenny Pickett that can simultaneously be true. Kenny Pickett can be a talented quarterback, and he can also be a quarterback who extremely benefited from getting the extra COVID year. Kenny Pickett's stock rose because he went from being a above average college quarterback at Pitt, where, remember, he had 3 straight years with 12 or 13 passing touchdowns. All of a sudden, he jumps from that to 42 passing touchdowns. He goes from being a guy who never threw for more than 3,100 passing yards to 4,316. Was it 40? Yeah, 4,319. 4,319. So you go from a guy who's an above average guy to being a first round pick because of one season. So part of the problem with draft evaluation is, how do you draw the line between a guy having one great season and another guy who might have had a more productive career? That is the problem when it comes to evaluating these players, because you may have a team that falls in love with a guy, but all the good tape on that guy may come from one season and doesn't come from a multitude of seasons. And I think that's part of the problem here. Part of the problem for an organization like Pittsburgh was they drafted Pickett based on them seeing, wow, look at his ascension, look at his growth, look at his development, instead of looking at it as, maybe we need to give him a little more time and development. There's a possibility that Kenny Pickett didn't start 12 games his rookie year and instead maybe sat most of the year or sat the whole year. Maybe Pittsburgh doesn't have to trade him. Maybe Pittsburgh doesn't need to go out and bring in Russell Wilson and trade for Justin Fields. Maybe if Pittsburgh would have brought in a veteran from day one to start ahead of Pickett for him to learn, maybe they don't feel they have to get rid of him, and Pickett doesn't feel betrayed by the organization who he feels misled him. Pickett had the unenviable task of being on the same roster as Mitchell Trubisky. Mitchell Trubisky, a failed first-round pick, a guy who was also drafted way higher than his projections should have been, because he also had a great final year in college. Trubisky was drafted ahead of Deshaun Watson, ahead of Patrick Mahomes. And everyone in their right mind knew at the time that the Bears were reaching. And why were the Bears reaching? Because Mitch Trubisky had one great year. And that's what got him drafted. What you do is you should have prepared Kenny Pickett with an experienced veteran who can give him some wisdom about life in the world, not a guy who's almost the same age as he is. I mean, Trubisky was 3 years older than Kenny Pickett at that point when they were in Pittsburgh. He wasn't around a real veteran. He was around a guy who was fighting for his NFL survival. That's what Kenny Pickett was doing. That's right, Trubisky was doing. So Pickett was always put in a he was always put at a disadvantage. So for the Eagles, as Howie Roseman said, look, we're trying to add as much talent as possible at the quarterback position. And I think for the Eagles, they know that it's because of that mentality that they drafted Jalen Hurts. It's because of that mentality that led them to bring Nick Foles back for the second time around and help get them a Super Bowl. It's because of that mentality that led the organization to go out and bring in Michael Vick when they already had Donovan McNabb as a starting quarterback. It is that mentality that led the organization to make a lot of different quarterback decisions over the last 20 plus years. And so for the Eagles, I don't think Pickett is here because of Jalen Hurts. I think Pickett is here because they look at this as an opportunity to say, hey, we can add depth with a guy that we evaluated and we think that has talent and ability. And I think for Kenny Pickett, he is going to do well in Philadelphia because he's not in an environment with an offensive coordinator, Matt Canada, who was also trying to fight for his job. When you are in a situation and in an environment where you are constantly asking a young professional in any business, it doesn't matter if this is a lawyer, it doesn't matter if this is a doctor, it doesn't matter if this is a car salesman, it doesn't matter what industry it is. When you are asking a young man to walk into a job and have to learn from people who are also fighting for their own professional survival, how much do you really think that guy is going to learn? How much do you think that guy is going to grow? How much do you think that person is going to evolve and become a better professional? Kenny Pickett is no different. You heard Brandon Scoopy Robinson say it about 20 minutes ago right here on 97.3 ESPN that sometimes we forget these are human beings. And sometimes they can have bad days at the office. And so you can have a bad day at the office. Tobias Harris can have a bad day at the office. Well, maybe Kenny Pickett, like you, might have gone to a job that he thought he was going to do well at, and he walked in and realized it was not the right situation for him. Geoff from Ocean City chimes in at 609-403-0973. He says, Josh, I agree with your comments on Pickett. I'm glad he's here over that bum Marcus Mariota. Look, I think that Marcus Mariota, he was kind of set up to fail because, one, Marcus Mariota did himself a disservice of doing the Netflix quarterback show. And I'm intrigued how this wide receiver show is going to do, because you saw on the Netflix quarterback show that for as much as that platform amplified and helped Mahomes and Kirk Cousins get more positive press out of it, it definitely hurt Marcus Mariota, because the whole incident that happened with Mariota down in Atlanta, it really comes down to whose side of the story you want to believe. Because I think that they really did try to tell the full spectrum of the story with Marcus Mariota, and him saying, look, if I'm not going to play and I'm being benched, I might as well get this knee surgery I've been putting off. I might as well be home with my newborn child and spend time with my wife, than sit here and be frustrated because basically the organization lied to me. Part of the reason why Arthur Smith was fired in Atlanta was because he was a failure. Arthur Smith failed to handle the quarterback position. He failed to handle the offense, two of the reasons why he was hired in the first place. And the Marcus Mariota situation put him in that predicament. So now Marcus Mariota comes to Philadelphia and people are wondering, is this guy a quitter? Is he a loser? What's going on here? So he's always behind the eight ball on that part. The other side for Marcus Mariota is that he was a high draft pick who did not work out. He had a okay career in Tennessee, but he was never second overall pick caliber in Tennessee. So now when we see this receiver show for Netflix coming, Devontae Adams, Justin Jefferson, George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, Amon-Ra St. Brown, my question is, which of those guys is going to be the Marcus Mariota? Which of those guys is going to be on the Netflix show the guy who walks away that everyone has a bad taste in their mouth about? Not because he's a bad guy, but because the presentation of him did him no favors. Just wondering. Just putting it out there. Because I think Marcus Mariota was done wrong by the Atlanta Falcons. I think the Tennessee Titans gave him every opportunity for him to develop into a better player. and he was never able to do it. He was never able to be more than he was. For a guy who was as successful as he was as a college quarterback, he had limitations in the NFL, and he was never, ever, ever going to be more than the guy who has a couple of good years, but never be more than that. He could never be more than the guy who was a 61% completion percentage guy. He just was unable to do it. He was not built that way. Sure, he had the 1 year he threw 26 touchdowns, but he never was able to do that again because the odds of you having a great touchdown to interception ratio while also being a career 62% completion percentage quarterback is not, the odds are not in your favor, to say the least. So Mariota was always at a disadvantage. Listen, he makes sense as a backup quarterback, but the problem in Philadelphia is that you need more from the backup quarterback. I think that's a big reason why Pickett is here. And by the way, that's also the reason why they signed Will Grier this weekend. Will Grier was another guy who in college put up some big numbers. Big numbers. But in the NFL, he was never able to replicate what he did in college. Look, he had 2 straight, 34, 35 touchdown years at West Virginia. He showed you that he was more than capable of being a high-level quarterback. The problem is that when he got to the NFL, his limitations were never amplified. His limitations were amplified and his strengths were never brought to the surface. He was constantly being just another guy. And because he didn't get a real fair shot in Carolina, and then he bounced around after that, he's a guy with talent, but maybe not the actual environment to be successful with that talent. Still to come, Football to 4 with Geoff Mosher from the Inside the Birds podcast, InsideTheBirds.com. He will join us coming up in about 13 minutes from now. Josh Hennig hanging out with you, filling in for Mike Gill on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN.
You're listening to the Sports Bash with Mike Gill.
And if you're not down with that, we got 2 work for you.
On 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
Do you love a good cigar almost as much as your family? Well, maybe that's an exaggeration, but you can find that perfect cigar at Smokers Haven. With 5 New Jersey locations, Smokers Haven has the finest selection of cigars in the area, like Ashton, My Father's, Romeo and Julieta, Monte Cristo, and more. All from the finest tobacco leaves and hand-rolled by the world's finest cigar makers. All locations are fully open. Stop in and let them help you find the perfect cigar to pair with your life. See all they have and their locations at smokershavennj.com.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Brakes? We can save you 15% on that. We have OE quality Duralast brake pads and rotors in stock, ready for pickup or delivery. We also have calipers, brake fluid, tools, and anything else you'll need to do the job right. When you get Duralast pads and rotors together, you'll save 15%. It's just part of what makes us America's #1 brakes destination.
Get in the zone, AutoZone. Champion Exteriors, Champion, the one you call first. Voted best of the best in Jersey Shores. For roofing and siding, windows and doors. 24-month financing, no payments, no interest. You're certified GAF elite contractors. Champion-exteriors.com. Champion Exteriors, Champion, the one you call first.
Some days I cover up because of my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis. Now I'm hitting the road with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi, Risankizumab Risa, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. With Skyrizi, 3 out of 4 people achieved 90% clearer skin at 4 months. And Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor today about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis, and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKY-RIZZI to learn more.
2 for $222. 2 for $222. Drive home 2 new Kias at Matt Blatt Kia for just $222 per month. For the first time, get 2 new Kias for $222 at Matt Blatt Kia, where you can get a brand new 2024 Kia Forte LXS for just $111 per month lease with 0 security deposit and just $39.95 due at signing. With a price like that, why not get 2 for $222? That's a brand new 2024 Kia Forte, 24-month lease for $111 per month, or drive home 2 for $222. Both with Matt Blatt Kia's exclusive 4-day love it or leave it return policy.
It's gotta be Matt Blatt Kia.
With approved credit, not all will qualify. Credit may affect down payment. Offers can't be combined. Go to mattblattkianj.com for complete details or 888-505-6670. Price includes all costs to be paid by consumer except for licensing, registration, and taxes through KMF. 24 months, $111 per month, 10,000 miles per year. Rebates and incentives to dealer. Expires 4/2/24. Matt Blatt Kia, 6211 Black Horse Pike, Harbor Township, and on Route 37 in Toms River.
Texting privacy policy and terms and conditions posted at textplan.us. Texting enrolls for recurring automated text marketing messages. Message and data rates may apply. Reply stop, opt out. Minimum purchase required. Interest accrues from date of purchase, but is waived if paid within promotional period. Go to windowappointmentnow.com for full offer details.
Attention homeowners. Do you know when to replace your windows? Feeling too hot or cold? Fog between the glass? Spending too much on expensive energy that literally goes out the window? It's time to replace. And right now you can get a free in-home window consultation and free price quote from Renewal by Andersen. Plus with our March 31-day sales event, you can save $377 off every window and $777 off every door when you buy 4 or more units. Just text OWN to 200-300 for your free consultation on top quality affordable windows or patio doors for no dollars down, no monthly payments, and no interest for a year. That's right, you don't pay a dime for an entire year. Text OWN to 200-300 to save $377 off every window and $777 off every door when you buy 4 or more units. Hurry, this incredible 31-day sales offer is only in March. Text OWN to 200-300. Text the word OWN to 200-300. OWN to 200-300.
At Bet365, we don't do ordinary. We believe that every sport should be epic. Every basket, every game, every point, every play. From the moments that are legendary to the ones that fly under the radar. Whether it's a game-winning goal in the final seconds of overtime or a shot on goal in the first period. Whatever the sport, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. 21 plus only, must be present in New Jersey. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Terms and conditions apply.
Find what you love, love what you find. A Total Wine and More. There's so much waiting for you. Spirits and beer, thousands of wine.
Drink responsibly. B21. You're listening to The Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.
Coming up in just a few minutes, talk with Geoff Mosher from the Inside the Birds podcast, InsideTheBirds.com. One of the other things Howie Roseman talked about was very interesting. Howie Roseman tried to paint the Saquon Barkley move as something that was actually something that is not as different what people may think. Because he went on to explain how he said, hey, I was in the ground when Brian Westbrook was here. I was here when Sean McCoy was here. I was here when we gave running back contracts. And he basically said that Saquon to him is like Westbrook. He's like McCoy. And that's the reason why they went out and got a player like him. So then that adds the question. If Saquon Barkley is that level of running back, what does that mean for the Philadelphia Eagles offense in 2022? That's Geoff Mosher on the other side here on 97.3 ESPN. And 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank Seattle. Let's don't forget our question of the day at 973 ESPN over on our Facebook page. Of course, some of you have been chiming in on the text board, on the DMs throughout the show as well. What was your favorite game or games from the weekend of March Madness or the Sixers win. Now, we had somebody say it's the Flyers for them. See, my answer still is the Creighton win over Oregon because I listen, I had never rooting interest, not my favorite teams, no money in the game, but I was so on the edge of my seat, hyper invested, double overtime. That game was absolutely wild. More Eagles talk next on 97.3 ESPN.
When you open the BetParks app, you're in the zone. Winning is always a rush, but the money is in the moments. It's the confidence and underdogs covering, the tension before a clutch turnover, and the pride of a parlay paying off. It's another chance to win big with all-day action. Plus, win your first $10 bet and get $125 in sports bonus bets. You play for fun, you love to win. You bet. BetParks.
See 21 in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Ohio, or Maryland. Gambling problem? 1-800-GAMBLER.
Parks Casino, this is how you win. Action, great dining, and entertainment. Don't miss these world-class headliners coming to the Excite Center inside Parks Casino. Femmes of Rock, May 17th, and Almost Queen, June 14th. For tickets and a complete list of upcoming shows, visit parkscasino.com. Parks Casino, this is how you win. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Do you love a good cigar almost as much as your family? Well, maybe that's an exaggeration, but you can find that perfect cigar at Smoker's Haven. With 5 New Jersey locations, Smoker's Haven has the finest selection of cigars in the area, like Ashton, My Father's, Romeo and Julieta, Monte Cristo, and more. All from the finest tobacco leaves and hand-rolled by the world's finest cigar makers. All locations are fully open. Stop in and let them help you find the perfect cigar to pair with your life. See all they have and their locations at smokershavennj.com.
It's buyback March at Matt Blatt Nissan. So bring any trade because AJ the Trade Man wants to buy your vehicle today. AJ pays $500 more than CarMax, so you get more dough for your ride. Brand new Sentra for just $199 per month lease with 0 security deposit. And only Matt Blatt Nissan has a 4-day love it or leave it return policy.
Oh yeah, it's on at Matt Blatt Nissan.
Or drive home with 0 down and 0 interest for 72 months. Plus, current Nissan owners get $1,000 owner loyalty cash back on every clearly marked new Nissan in stock. Have a job clearing $450 per week? We want to approve you today. And AJ wants your trade, but only at Matt Blatt Nissan.com. Rate qualifications exist with approved credits. $13.89 per thousand finance. Not all will qualify. Go to MattBlattNissan.com for complete details or call 844-917-4758. Price includes all costs to be paid by consumer except for licensing, registration, and taxes. Sentra VIN RY 201059. Lease selling price $24,579. Expires 4/6/24. It's on at Matt Blatt Nissan on the Black Horse Pike. Harbor Township.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Brakes? We can save you 15% on that. We have OE quality Duralast brake pads and rotors in stock, ready for pickup or delivery. We also have calipers, brake fluid, tools, and anything else you'll need to do the job right. When you get Duralast pads and rotors together, you'll save 15%. It's just part of what makes us America's #1 brakes destination.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Life can be tough, and sometimes it's hard to find someone who will listen. But we want you to know there's always someone you can turn to, day or night. The 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is completely confidential and here for you 24/7 every day of the year. You don't have to struggle alone. Call 988 and let us help. We're here ready to listen because your life matters. Call or text 988 or chat at 988lifeline.org/chat. A message from New Jersey Human Services.
Hey, let's get out of here. With Audible, we could root for a lone astronaut as he tries to save Earth from disaster. Maybe go for a run with the founder of the world's biggest sneaker brand. We could get the tea on the real-life media mogul succession drama. Or find out what life is really like for an Oscar-winning actress. I mean, with Audible, we could go anywhere. There's more to imagine when we listen. Hear the latest audiobooks, podcasts, and originals at audible.com.
At Bet365, we don't do ordinary. We believe that every sport should be epic. Every basket, every game, every point, every play. From the moments that are legendary to the ones that fly under the radar. Whether it's a three-pointer at the buzzer to tie the game or a player goes 2 for 2 at the foul line. Whatever the sport, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. 21 plus only, must be present in New Jersey. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Terms and conditions apply.
South Jersey's official play-by-play home of the Eagles, Sixers, and Flyers.
At 0 point would I ever consider not being a fan of the team.
97.3 ESPN, WENJ, WENJ HD, Millville, Atlantic City, a Town Square media station serving all of South Jersey. 97.3 ESPN presents the Sports Bash with Mike Gill. It's time for Football at 4, powered by the Inside the Birds podcast.
Just hungry to bring back another Lombardi to Philly. The fans deserve it. Our team deserves it. Culture begs for it.
Now live, this is Football at 4.
Football at 4, powered by the Inside the Birds podcast, InsideTheBirds.com. And of course, as it is each and every day here on the Sports Bash, brought to you by Bet365. Whatever the sport, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Joining us as each and every Monday for a Mosher Monday, Geoff Mosher, Inside the Birds, the podcast, wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, also Inside the Birds on YouTube, InsideTheBirds.com, and Geoff P. Mosher on the Twitter X platform. Geoff, how you doing this Monday?
I'm great, Josh. How are you?
Doing well. And I thought it was interesting because, listening to that, that canned Jeffrey Lurie audio coming into your segment, it kind of lines up with some of the things that Howie Roseman was saying to the media today down in Orlando. And I wanted to get your thoughts on it. Howie basically presented some of the moves they made this offseason, like trading for Pickett, like adding Saquon Barkley. He's trying to paint them as, well, this is who we are. These are the kind of, decisions we make when it comes to players who have talent. Do you buy that theory from Howie that this kind of goes in line with what they've done in the past?
No, it definitely goes in line with when Howie sees as an opportunity to get a playmaker. In his past, he has done that. A.J. Brown's a really good example of that, right? But, he said that there was an inaccurate portrayal of his philosophy of running back because, as he said, he paid LaShawn McCoy. He was part of the front office that paid Brian Westbrook later in his career to a bigger deal. But those are, to me, that's a little bit apples to oranges. Both of those guys, Westbrook and McCoy, were in-house guys. They were there. And, usually when you have the opportunity to give an extension in-house, it winds up being a little bit more team-friendly. No one has ever said the Eagles don't like to extend their own guys. And obviously there's the exception of Christian McCaffrey, who we know the Eagles would have drafted had they been able to many years ago. But again, you're getting a guy who's cost-controlled on a long-term deal, even if he's a top 10 pick. It is a little out of character for him to spend this kind of money on a running back. There have been countless running backs who have been available in free agency since LaShawn McCoy, right? Who Howie Roseman has not put money into, despite that running back could have been a good fit for the Eagles. So this is a unique situation. Definitely falls more in line with his desire of getting a playmaker. And as we reported on Inside the Birds, Saquon Barkley was a guy that Howie Roseman really liked coming out of Penn State years ago and just never had an opportunity to draft. So you can throw Kenny Pickett in that same boat, a guy that Howie Roseman liked years ago, never had an opportunity in the draft, but now he had an opportunity to get them, so he did.
Before we get to Pickett, I just want to one more on Barkley, and that is because you mentioned how he was a guy the Eagles liked coming out of college, and you mentioned about how you and Adam have reported numerous times about the Christian McCaffrey thing. If the Eagles would have gotten one of those kind of running backs earlier, if let's say McCaffrey would have fallen to them, or maybe a Barkley would have fallen to them, how much different do you think this team would look today?
It's a good question. Like you can even throw in the example, what if Miles Sanders had just been a little bit more well-rounded for them? What if he had been a better catcher of the football? What if he had stayed healthy? What if he had had more years for the Eagles, like his final year, where he had a career best rushing year, how would that have looked? Well, it probably would have meant that the Eagles would have given him an extension after year 3 like they did with LaShawn McCoy. So whether it would be Barkley, right, or the year later Miles Sanders coming out and being that 3-down playmaker that they really liked coming out of Penn State when they drafted Miles Sanders in the second round, then the offense would look a little bit different, you would imagine, because they would have paid a guy like that. I don't think the Eagles have ever been in the business of just drafting a guy for 4 years. They want high picks to get second contracts, but those guys have to warrant it.
Geoff, flipping it over to the Pickett side of it, because, Howie did talk about him as well. And, we have joked in the past bringing up, Howie in the quarterback factory, but, he did mention about what I thought was interesting about how, Kenny Pickett is a guy who has talent and they believe in building depth at that position. And to me, the reason why the Kenny Pickett thing makes sense, Geoff, is because if the Eagles didn't have this quarterback philosophy, they don't draft Jalen Hurts in 2020, right? If they didn't have this philosophy, they don't bring back Nick Foles for the 2017 season. They don't bring in Michael Vick when Donovan McNabb is still here. So I get where he's coming from on the Pickett thing. I don't think the Pickett move is that extreme at all.
No, I wouldn't say it's extreme. Philosophically, as you just mentioned, Josh, it aligns with what they like to do, which is find young quarterbacks in any capacity and see if there's something to get there from him. And they obviously like Kenny Pickett coming out of Pitt, and now they have a chance to bring him in, and it's 2 years, and it's way cheaper. By the way, that's a big part of their philosophy too, is that there's been a rising cost of backup quarterbacks. They had to pay Marcus Mariota last year $5 million to play, I don't know, what he played, 20 snaps, right?
Right.
But where I would say it sort of doesn't align, and this is sort of a subjective viewpoint on it, is they have told you that the backup quarterback is a very important position because it's a guy that not only, do you want to develop, but has to be able to get in there and win games for you the way Nick Foles did. A couple of years ago, Gardner Minshew stepped in and won a game against the Jets, played pretty well. The year after, he started 2 games, did not win them. I think the Saints game was really rough for him. The Cowboys game, not so much. They just lost a shootout in that game. The last 2 years, I think it's fair to say, though, can you sit there and feel really confident that if Jalen Hurts misses 3 games, that you felt that Mariota and now Kenny Pickett can go in there and go 2-2, 3-1 in those 4 games? It's definitely fair to question that because both Mariota and Pickett come to the Eagles at a time where they did not play very good football the year before.
You mentioned about that playing well. I want to ask you about that because, I know it's not an apples to apples comparison, but I kind of look at Pickett in Pittsburgh as a guy who was not always put in a position to be successful because between Matt Canada, the offensive coordinator, and then, his quote unquote mentor was Mitch Trubisky of all people. It's like you're putting a guy in a situation where maybe he's not in a position to be successful. Maybe if Pickett went to the Steelers and they had a legitimate veteran there, maybe he could actually have had time to develop into something. And now you're taking him from an environment with a bunch of guys who are fighting for their professional survival to an environment where you're not asking him to have to fight for his own survival. Maybe he can develop into something.
Yeah, I think that's fair, Josh. I think when I watched Kenny Pickett at Pitt and spoke to people about him, there were people who thought he had good talent. Maybe not where the Steelers drafted him, but a lot of times when you're a quarterback drafted in the first round, you don't even have a first round grade. It's just that they feel with 2 or 3 good years of development, you can be a quarterback who can win games for you in the league. There were times where Kenny Pickett flashed and showed you what he can be. They just weren't consistent enough. And I agree that he sort of had the perfect storm of defensive head coach, bad offensive coordinator, bad offensive line. And of all 3 of those, the offensive line, I think, really hurt him the most. They drafted a tackle out of Georgia last year who didn't get on the field until about the middle of the year. And I think Pickett had already been hurt. And Broderick Jones, I want to say, I thought he played fairly decent and gave that line a lift, and they started to run the ball way better over the second half of the year. But by then, Pickett had already been hurt. Mason Rudolph came in, did some nice things. He stayed in. I don't feel like Pickett actually got the benefit of they changed coordinators, then they started Broderick Jones, then they started to run the ball better. We never really saw Pickett in that environment. And I'm not trying to make excuses for him, but he definitely had the look of somebody to me who was playing scared, getting out of the pocket early, bailing, trying to throw the ball so he wouldn't get hit, instead of a guy who felt confident that he would have the time to make the throws he wanted to make.
Talking with Geoff Mosher from the Inside the Birds podcast, InsideTheBirds.com, here on Football at 4 on 97.3 ESPN. Josh Henning filling in for Mike Gill on a Monday afternoon. I did chuckle, though, when they added Will Grier this weekend, because it's like now you got another guy who's going to give the Eagles an excuse not to play Jalen Hurts in the preseason, right, Geoff?
Exactly it. Now, usually, as we said on the podcast, usually when you see a fourth quarterback or a team that carries four quarterbacks is not uncommon, especially into OTAs. But usually that guy is kind of another developmental guy, a young guy. It's not often that it's someone who's, been at least in and around the league for a few years, like Will Grier, who I think was a rookie with the Panthers in 2019, I want to say. So you're looking about 3 or 4 years that he's already been in and around the league. But he has familiarity with Kellen Moore. He was with them last year, the Chargers. So therefore, he was also with the new quarterbacks coach, Doug Nussmeier, who was QB's coach under Kellen Moore in LA and also in Dallas. So I get it. Chip Kelly sort of infamously did this when he became Eagles head coach by bringing in Dennis Dixon, who played for him at Oregon. And everybody thought, Chip's bringing this guy in. He's going to start Dennis Dixon. And no, he wound up re-signing Michael Vick, and Nick Foles was there. And, when it was time to play real football, Dennis Dixon was not even on the 53-man roster.
Right.
So we've seen this before, and I from what we're told, this is similar. It's just, it has no reflection on how they feel about Tanner McKee. They want to give that kid his chance to compete and see what he can do. But you need a fourth guy, and this fourth guy just happens to know the scheme and can help out in that regard.
Geoff, you mentioned Kellen Moore. I want to ask you about that, because I know we've talked a lot about, whether it's here on 97.3 or you guys on the Inside the Birds podcast, about, what does Kellen Moore mean for what the offense will look like on the field? What is your take on Kellen Moore's influence on how things are developing off the field? Because I got to think that some of these decisions that have been made, the bringing in the Devontae Parkers, the trading for Kenny Pickett, the signing Saquon Barkley, I got to assume that there's got to be some Kellen Moore, maybe not direct influence, but maybe some sort of how much do you think him being here has maybe changed some of what the Eagles are doing this offseason versus the past off seasons?
I know that there's some dots connected there, Josh, because the Eagles have made some uncharacteristic moves this offseason. And so you look at the new coordinators and maybe there's a dot to connect there that, there's probably a lot more influence from these two coordinators than in the past. But I haven't heard that, and I'm reluctant to draw any parallels to it, to be honest with you. I just think that the Eagles have always been run with what Howie Roseman has in mind. Does he take input in? Does he recognize who his coordinators are and try to marry personnel with scheme? Yeah, absolutely. No question. Will Grier, good example. We just talked about that. But I don't look at the Saquon Barkley signing and think that doesn't happen if Brian Johnson is the coordinator or if Cliff Kingsbury is the coordinator. It's always been a Howie Roseman operation with a degree of input from coaches and coordinators, but I really don't have any information that tells me that because Vic Fangio is the defensive coordinator or because Kellen Moore is the offensive coordinator, that's why you're seeing these moves. In fact, I know that that's a popular kind of assumption. I don't know how you would make that assumption and then say Devin White makes sense for the Eagles, because he really, outside of his ability to maybe run with the three, carry the three and zone defense, I'm not sure there's a whole lot of Devin White's game that is synonymous with what Vic Fangio does defensively. He certainly doesn't blitz linebackers a lot. So I really don't make that parallel.
You know, you mentioned about not making the parallel, but if I could just play devil's advocate for a moment. So for you, you mentioned Devin White, right? Why do you then think Devin White is here? Like, do you think the Eagles, like, is this a situation where, like Howie says about Kenny Pickett, hey, we evaluated this guy well in the draft? Or could it possibly be that Devin White is a guy that Vic Fangio and says, give me that guy, I'll be the coach to do X, Y, Z with him?
No, I think it's Devin White is with the Eagles because he, A, is a linebacker and the Eagles needed one. He was probably one of the best ones left, even though he's coming off 2 disappointing years. At that point that they signed him, it wasn't like there were a bunch of really, really good linebackers left. So, A, they needed a starting linebacker. He was one of the few on the board that had as much starting experience as he did. B, they could get him on a 1-year cost-efficient deal. C, we know how much priority the Eagles place on analytics, and if there's one box Devin White's going to check off better than almost anybody out there, including guys who signed before him, was that he's a superior athlete. He's Mr. Underwear Olympics. I'm not trying to be, degrading. I mean, he is an unbelievable athlete. And that's why, and the Eagles know that they are not going to draft a linebacker in the first round, and they may not draft a linebacker in the second round. Because if you draft a linebacker in the second round, you got to kind of get that guy on the field immediately, right? And the Eagles want to get other guys on the field, offensive line, defensive line, pass rushers, cornerbacks, perhaps. So they needed to draft-proof themselves at that position. And by getting a starting linebacker of Devin White ability or credentials, and then also going and getting Oren Burks, the pair with Nakobe Dean, and then you also have Zach Baldwin and Ben Van Sumeren, they don't have to take a linebacker early. It'd be nice if they once in a while did, but they don't have to. So that's why I feel Devin White is a linebacker for the Eagles more so than Vic Fangio saying, get me Devin White.
Okay, that's interesting. Geoff Mosher from the Inside the Birds podcast, InsideTheBirds.com, at Geoff P. Mosher on Twitter. You use the term draft-proof themselves. So not to overly read into what you're saying, I'm not trying to project anything there, but I am curious. When you talk about draft proofing themselves, so like, for example, they haven't added a bunch of cornerbacks or safeties so far in free agency. Is that a position that maybe they feel more comfortable with going into the draft versus linebacker, let's say?
No, because I was the signing period is still young, as we know, right? I mean, you have an opportunity to improve your team outside of the draft in free agency or the trade market from now until the day before the first game of the season. And we have seen the Eagles use late free agency, late trade market quite a bit to improve their team. So I don't see their inaction, is what you're asking, at safety, other than C.J. Gardner-Johnson in that corner right now, as a sign that they're very comfortable there, or that they feel they can just draft a starter there. That's not what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that there's just more time. Buyer's market at some of those positions that we just talked about, especially safety.
Now, with that being said, so because we're talking about the draft here for a moment, Geoff, I want to ask you, because in recent years, the Eagles have leaned more into the best player available idea, right? They've leaned more into, this is the guy highest on our board, we have to draft this guy. Is that going to continue to be the philosophy you believe moving forward?
Well, as it's always put to me, the Eagles aren't necessarily best player available. They're more best player available at the position that they value. The Ravens are best player available. Go look at their draft history. They've drafted a center. They've drafted a safety. They've drafted a wide receiver in the first round. They've drafted an offensive lineman in the first round. They have drafted literally a linebacker, right? Patrick Queen. They have drafted and every position that's there, except for maybe kicker and punter, right, and long snapper. So that's a team that truly believes in best available player. The Eagles, as we very much know, are not going to draft a linebacker in the first round, not going to draft a safety, not going to draft a tight end. in the first round. They're going to draft an offensive lineman, a defensive lineman, a quarterback. And I do believe, even though it's been 22 years, that they do believe quarterback is still a value position for them. It just hasn't worked in their favor. A couple of years ago, they would have drafted Patrick Surtain. He got taken by Denver. They took Devontae Smith, which, they were like neck and neck on the board, as I was told, understood it. So that position I would put on the table as well. But that's the four positions: O-line, D-line, cornerback, and quarterback and and quarterback obviously is, and wide receiver. Those would be the positions that they value.
All right, Geoff, before I let you go, because your Twitter handle is Geoff P. Mosher on Twitter, I got to know, because we know the P actually stands for Phillies. I say that obviously tongue in cheek. Jake Cave gone. Cody Clemens sent to the minor leagues. Is Geoff Mosher okay if the starting outfield is Rojas in center and Brandon Marsh on left on opening day?
Yes, I'm okay with that. Look, I think that with Rojas, my concern was I felt he needed at bat. So I thought it would be all right to send him out AAA where he can play every day. But I was okay with him coming up north as long as they are committed to playing him for a month or two and letting him get the bat going if it's there. Like, if he goes like 2 for 12 in the opening series, right, against the Braves, like, I can't have him now being a part-time player platooning with Pache. Like, you either give him the chance to AAA, give him the chance to the majors, and make it a real chance. Because I think the Phillies can afford to have a light-hitting guy in their ninth hole to get that kind of defense they get from Rojas. But they've got to commit to playing him almost every day, in my mind. Or else, what are you doing here? And, yeah, I'm happy to see that Jake Cave is not on the Phillies roster. I think, I would have liked to see Clemens just to get another left-handed at-bat, even though I'm not really a Cody Clemens guy. But right now, your only left-handed guy on the bench, I think, is Garrett Stubbs, which is a little concerning. But if you got Rojas in center and Marsh in left, I think you got great outfield defense from maybe the first time since sort of at the end of last year, right? And I'm all right with that.
Yeah, see, my only concern is I wanted Clemens because I think he's a better first base option than either Merrifield or Sosa over there. I felt like I was more comfortable with him being on the roster because, Pache only plays outfield. Merrifield, I don't think Merrifield's ever played first base in his life.
No, I don't believe he has. So I definitely understand that. I kind of thought Clemens was going to make it. And I've never really been a Clemens guy, even when he was hitting the ball well. I just, I always goes back to he was a throw-in in that trade. He didn't really perform well in the minors before he came to the Phillies. But you know what? I can't complain with what he's done since he's been a Philly, and I thought maybe he would make it up there as well.
Yeah, he's also a good emergency pitcher if you need a guy to come in like a 15-1 blowout.
Yeah, he is. You always need that to be faced. He just channels his inner dad, right? Rocket. He says, "I can do this just like my pop did."
Well, I think he had 4 outings last year coming out of the bullpen. So it's like it's not like he can't do it.
Well, the question I always wondered is it because he's Roger Clemens' kid, or is it just happen to be you're the super utility guy, so you're gonna have to pitch in the mop up there in the blowout games?
Well, here's the other side of the question: is when the opposing hitter sees Cody Clemens on the mound, do they worry that he's Roger Clemens' kid?
I'm gonna guess that they don't.
Okay. That was a reach.
If Mike Piazza ever had a kid who played in the majors, then maybe. But, that's a whole different story.
Geoff Mosher from the Inside the Birds podcast, InsideTheBirds.com. You can hear more ramblings from him on the Powder Blue podcast about the Phillies. Yeah, it was 4 outings he had for the Phillies last year. He came into 4 games, pitched in 2 2/3 innings, and only gave up 1 run, Geoff. 1 run in 2 2/3 innings.
Well, we'll just call him Baby Rocket.
Baby Rocket. I don't know if I'll call him that because he had 3 walks also in those 2 2/3 innings. So
the Baby Wild Rocket.
Baby Wild Rocket. Geoff, always appreciate the conversation. Take care, my friend.
All right, Josh. Take care.
Josh Hennick here on the Sports Bash, filling in for Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN. A conversation with Geoff Mosher brought to you by Bet365. Whatever the sport, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. A man who I know will have some Phillies questions for Knicks Nuggets is Nick Earnshaw. He joins me next here on 97.3 ESPN FM and 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle City.
It's the Sports Bash with Mike Gill
Do I have everybody's attention now?
on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
Hey, it's John Marks. Growing up here, I know that the fans get the last word. The fans have spoken, and real Philly sports fans love the Bet Parks Casino and Sportsbook app. It's the only online casino and sportsbook app that I recommend. 24/7 live casino action. Join me now and download the Bet Parks app, and all your favorite casino games are right at your fingertips. Bet on all your favorite sports: Philly hoops, Philly hockey, college basketball, and more. Odds, bets, slots, and games right in your pocket. Play the hottest online slots or play blackjack, roulette, baccarat, or Texas Hold'em with a live dealer right on your phone. Get winning on the Bet Parks app. It's so simple. New users, join me right now. Just download the app and get up to $1,000 casino bonus back if you're not a winner in your first 24 hours. Details on the Bet Parks app or at betparks.com. New users only. Casino bonus must be wagered. Terms and conditions apply. You must be 21 and in Pennsylvania or New Jersey. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
We're going abroad for the first time in years, to Spain. So we started using Babbel.
And started learning Spanish fast.
With Babbel, you can start having conversations in another language in just 3 weeks.
¿Cómo te llamas? ¿Cómo te llamas?
When you learn a language, you want to actually use it. Babbel is designed with that goal in mind.
In just 3 weeks, we're starting to have conversations in Spanish. Gracias, Babbel.
Babbel, language for life. Now try Babbel for free at Babbel.com. That's Babbel.com.
eBay Motors is here for the ride. Go ahead, feel your engine. Admire that perfectly installed exhaust. Your vehicle's moving along this freeway like it was made from fresh installs and a whole lot of love. With eBay Motors, you get over 122 million parts to keep it running. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, they'll be the perfect fit every time. Plus, at these prices, well, we're burning rubber, not cash. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Attention lovebirds, are you ready to take the next step in your journey together? Don't miss out on Sage Jewelers' exclusive engagement ring sale.
Sage has the perfect ring to symbolize your everlasting love with up to 50% off on their exquisite collection of engagement rings.
Hurry, this sale won't last forever. Visit Sage Jewelers today, Tilton Road, Northfield, or online at sagejewelers.com.
Sage Jewelers, the ultimate expression of love.
Sorry, but we actually have a wait list for our Monstera.
Shaw's greenhouse is really bringing in the green.
We can't keep snake plants in stock.
She needs a construction manager to build on her roots and grow.
We could add a whole section for ferns. Here we'd have dahlias, dahlias, and more dahlias.
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. You can schedule and conduct virtual interviews all from your employer dashboard. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Find what you love what you find. A Total Wine and More. There's so much waiting for you. Spirits and beer, thousands of wines. Walk right through the door. It's all here to explore. With guides in the know and prices so low, it just might blow your mind. You're gonna find what you love and love what you find.
Drink responsibly, B21.
Some people just know there's a better way to do things, like bundling your home and auto insurance with Allstate, or hiring someone to move your piano instead of doing it yourself. So, do things the better way. Bundle home and auto and save up to 25% with Allstate.
Bundled savings vary by state and are not available in every state. Saving up to 25% is the countrywide average of the maximum available savings off the home policy. Allstate Vehicle and Property Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
Powered by NJM. No jingles or mascots, just great insurance. This is the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network.
The Sixers play the Kings, the Phillies lose to the Rays, and the Flyers get the night off. This is Danny Ryan with your South Jersey Sports Center. After beating James Harden and the Clippers last night in LA, the 76ers are back in action tonight against the Sacramento Kings. Listen to the game live right here on 97.3 ESPN. Coverage starts at 10 p.m. The Phillies fell to the Tampa Bay Rays this afternoon by a final score of 6-3. Next up, the Fightins will officially open the 2024 season Thursday afternoon in Philadelphia against the rival Atlanta Braves. Zach Wheeler takes the mound against Spencer Strider for a 3:05 first pitch. After a tough loss last night to the Panthers, the Flyers will hit the road to take on the Rangers tomorrow night. You can listen to the game live right here on 97.3 ESPN. Coverage starts at 7 following game night with Josh Hennig. For more Eagles, Sixers, Phillies, and Flyers, download our free mobile app. Your forecast is next.
Win a 2024 BMW sedan during the Race to the Finish promotion at Borgata Hotel, Casino, and Spa. Now through April 27th, earn entries on slots and table games for your chance to win. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
From the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network, an onshore breeze will become a bit of a nuisance here, sparking increasing cloud cover tonight, cooler than normal temperatures for the duration, and a continuing coastal flooding threat for the next 2 high tide cycles at least. Low temperature tonight around 38. Tomorrow's high only 48. It'll be mostly cloudy with a chance of a sprinkle. A few more rain showers coming Wednesday with lots of clouds, high 52. Even better rain chance Thursday. Get weather 24/7 wherever you are. Download our free mobile app today.
Life can be tough, and sometimes it's hard to find someone who will listen. But we want you to know there's always 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is completely confidential and here for you 24/7 every day of the year. You don't have to struggle alone. Call 988 and let us help. We're here ready because your life matters. Call or text 988 or chat at 988lifeline.org/chat. A message from New Jersey Human Services.
You're listening to the Sports Bash with Mike Gill.
When I'm driving, I got a guy on the radio who talks to me. I can't see him, but he talks to me.
On 97.3 ESPN.
Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill here on 97.3 ESPN. Nick's Nuggets is back. Nick Earnshaw, of course, you hear him on the weekends with Billy Schweim in the locker room on 97.3 ESPN. So is Mike Gill every week on Mondays, Thursdays, and Fridays. He's back. You know, there was no shows on Thursday and Friday because of the tournament, Nick. So, you know, no one has heard from you since last Monday when you talked to Mike Gill until you were on Saturday with Billy Schweim. So how you doing, my man?
What's going on, Josh? It's nice to see you. Yeah, it's been a little while since I've done Nick's Nuggets. I had like a little mini vacation, I guess. I had some Happy Meals, I guess, a couple of nuggets here and there. I don't know, but no, it's glad. I'm glad to be back. It's great to be back. It's great to talk to you. And you know where I got to start. You know where I got to start today, Josh. Opening day is just right. It's this week. It's right here. I'm excited. Nugget number 1, Josh Hennig. Rojas is the guy. He's going to be in center field. The Phillies, they trade Jake Cave to the Rockies. And, you know, it opens the door for Johan Rojas. Christian Pache also going to make the roster. But Rojas is going to be the guy on opening day. What do you make of this? Because I like it. I know, you know, we wanted to see him continue to improve, maybe work on his approach at the plate. He's done that throughout the spring. People wanted him to kind of maybe do it in AAA to start this season. I like having him start in center field because, you know, he's got the glove too, Josh.
So a couple things here. One, I was very excited when Jake Cave got traded because I thought that meant Cody Clemens was going to make the team. And then that got slapped in my face. So because I was saying this earlier, Nick, like, if I need someone to play first base, what's it going to be? Merrifield? Sosa? Like,
I got you. I got your answer. I have your answer.
What's the answer?
Alec Bohm can play first base.
No, he needs to say it third.
I'm with you, but if you're in a bind and you put Alec Bohm over at first base, that he's the guy that you can move over. You can have Merrifield, you can have Sosa play third base. You can mix and match. Bohm would be the guy. I like Alec Bohm at third base. I think he's improved tremendously defensively at the hot corner. But if you need the guy, move Alec Bohm over there.
Sure. I mean, whatever happened to the whole GT Romuto playing first base? We haven't seen that in a while.
I've thought about that too, and I've had that discussion on the shift before. Like we've talked about, could JT? I mean, he's caught so many innings. He's getting up there in age, right? Like, would you make the transition at some point? Obviously, Bryce is going to play first base for the majority of the season, but if you need to mix and match lineups, maybe throw JT over there to, if he gets a little older, you keep the bat, but behind the plate, it's a tough position, Josh.
So the other part of your question was about Rojas and center. And
yes.
I said this earlier, and I'll ask you, I kind of throw the question back to you.
All right.
Rob Thompson says yesterday, we like Rojas's defense in center. But then today, which is an opportunity to put out your opening day lineup, basically, he's not in center. It's Marsh. And you bat Marsh and Schwarber back to back, which is like a no-no in the Phillies land, right? They like the left, right.
Yeah.
So what was today's lineup just a Fugazi? Was today's lineup just to throw everybody off?
Yes, I think it's a Fugazi. I'm with you. I think it is. Right. I don't think it's real. We don't have to buy as much into it. Still spring training. They're going to send the lineup out there. Schwarber's going to be leading off. That's another discussion we've had that's been huge over the past couple of years. He should lead off. He will lead off.
At this point,
it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be any discussion. He's going to lead off. But the thing with Rojas, he's going to bat ninth, right? So, we've heard Rob Thompson talk about they need a 9-hole hitter to extend at bats, see a lot of pitches. And, I think Rojas has kind of done that. His approach has changed a little bit. It's got more patient at the plate throughout this spring, and that's what the Phillies wanted from him. And you're going to need that from a guy like Rojas. You need him to extend at bats, maybe draw some walks, because you want to flip the lineup over and get Schwarber as many opportunities as possible at the dish. It's another reason why you want Schwarber in the first spot, because if you have a good 9-hole hitter who can get on base, has a little bit of speed, it flips it back over like middle of the game, fifth, sixth, seventh inning. I think that's a huge plus if Rojas could be that guy offensively and not, you'll be striking out on 2-3 pitches or grounding out early on in counts.
All right, what you got next for us, Nugs?
All right, nugget number 2. I got to move over to the pitching side of things. And Jordan Montgomery. All right, we've heard the discussions. He's still out there. Blake Snell signed last week. He's going to the San Francisco Giants, right?
Yep.
So Jordan Montgomery is still out there. And there's been rumblings, rumors that the Phillies are discussing and debating whether they want to bring Montgomery in. Now, I think you could get him a little bit less. You could maybe sign him to a 2-year deal with an opt-out after this year. That seems to be what all the Boris clients are signing at this point. But the problem is with the money and the tax. So they would head into a third tax threshold. And if you're a third-time offender, you're going to be paying a lot more on that tax. They could be paying up to 50%. They could be paying up to 62%. And third-tier tax overages, according to Phillies Nation, 5%. So they could be taxed 95% if they jump to a big number for Montgomery. So I'm very curious. Would it be worth it to go even more into the tax than they already are for the Phillies to sign Jordan Montgomery? Would it be worth it?
I would say no for this reason. I know it's kind of a strange reason, but hear me out for a second.
Okay, I'm listening.
Why is Jordan Montgomery the only pitcher left? Even Michael Lorenzen got signed by the Rangers. So what is going on with Montgomery that nobody, as of 4:38 on March 25th, has signed this guy, right? Like, there's got to be something I'm missing. So my working assumption is, if nobody else wants him, why do I want him?
That's fair. I see where you're coming from. Like, why hasn't he signed yet? All these other guys have signed. Even some bottom tier guys have signed. That are more long relievers, right? They've signed. Snell's off the board. I feel like it's got to be he's asking more money, right? Like, and maybe teams don't feel he's worth the value of a Blake Snell, who, I know Montgomery. I don't know. I think it's this point that maybe that Boris is overvaluing Jordan Montgomery and his market isn't as strong.
Maybe that's the problem. If what you just said, if Boris is trying to put Montgomery anywhere near the Blake Snell range, Boris needs to be fired. I mean, that's just stupid.
I think that's the problem. Right. I think he might be getting overvalued. Maybe you can get him at a low number because the season's literally days away here, Josh. Like, maybe you can get him at a low number. Maybe you stay under that third tax threshold. I don't know. But listen, for me, You've spent all this money already. You might as well go for it at this point, Josh. You might as well just go for it. You just lost Taijuan Walker. Maybe you can move some pieces later on in the season and maybe get some more pitching and more guys for the bullpen and in starting pitching. But I don't know. I feel like they should just go for it. You're all in at this point. Might as well spend the money and spend the bread.
What's interesting, though, is real quick about the Taijuan Walker thing, okay? You're not the first person to come on here and mention Taijuan Walker, right? But if you go by the official Phillies media account, they have not announced Taijuan Walker to the injured list like everyone's reporting. So unless there's something they're still waiting for, like transaction-wise, to happen, like is there maybe a guy who's going to get released who's not Jordan Montgomery, who they're going to pick up and then put Walker on the injured list? You know what I mean? Like there might be a Dave Dombrowski, Howie Roseman-esque move waiting in the weeds right now.
Let Dave cook. Maybe we just gotta let Dave cook, Josh, before he gets out of the injured list. We just gotta let him cook for a little bit. We'll see. I would like to see them add another pitcher. Maybe if it's via trade at some point before the trade deadline this year, because I think you just need pitching going into the postseason. You can never have enough of it. So we'll see what happens on the Montgomery front, if they end up spending the money or if there's some, Dombrowski magic coming soon here, Josh. All right, I'll move on to nugget number 3. Going to switch to the gridiron here, and we're going to talk about a now former Philadelphia Eagle. Goodbye, Quez Watkins. He's gone. He's not coming back to the Philadelphia Eagles, and everyone should be celebrating. He is sayonara. He's going to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm glad he's gone, Josh. He made too many crucial mistakes. He had some big drops in the Super Bowl, during big games and big moments. Disappeared from the offense last year, specifically. He had some bright moments. He had some low lights. But I think, the Eagles bring in Paris Campbell, Devontae Parker. I'm sure they'll draft another receiver at some point, but I think he was holding this team back offensively and cost them in some big moments. So I'm not too sad to see him go.
Listen, I have no heartfelt emotion at all for Quez Watkins. When he dropped that ball in the Washington game a couple of years ago, that was the moment I was like, this guy's an idiot. Like, I mean, you had a chance to beat Washington in that game. They could have salvaged that game on Monday Night Football, and he's just he turns the ball over. They get the ball back, and that was basically the nail in the coffin at that point. So good, let him be gone. But I will go back to this. Quez Watkins was part of that 2020 draft class, right? And you go back to that 2020 draft, and we're realizing how much COVID messed everything up for everyone. Like, there were so many picks in that draft that did not work out for teams. Either guys were overdrafted, underdrafted, never should have been drafted. Like, it goes to show you, Nick, that draft evaluation is not as simple as doing a Zoom interview and watching a guy at a pro day. Like, there's way more to this.
Yeah, and it felt like the Eagles didn't. It felt like they didn't really use him right. Like they tried having him run slants across over the middle, and he really was a guy who could really just run a go route. I mean, that's essentially all Quez Watkins could really do. So I'm not sad to see him go. And bringing up the draft thing, yeah, like you can't. How are you supposed to understand who a player is, what they are with everything going on in 2020 with the COVID year? He was a 6th-round pick. It just didn't pan out. And I think that was with a lot of teams, a lot of players, like you mentioned. And Quez, it seems like, was one of those guys. Now, he's still a young player. I wish him well in Pittsburgh. Maybe he just needs a fresh start. And they can use him over there with Russell Wilson. We'll see. Maybe they can get him involved in more creative ways. But it was not going to happen here. And, I'm okay with that he's moving on.
Yeah, I'm good with it too. What's next?
All right. Final nugget, 4-piece today. Final one, Josh, for you. Harden loses to the Embiid-less Sixers last night. Oh, I'm so excited. He was terrible last night. He wasn't great. We had a great campaign game. 5 of 10 from 3, 23 points. Even Tobias had 24. I'll give Tobias his flowers for last night. He shows up all once in a blue moon about every 2 weeks. So that was nice. Maxey also had a nice game. But I'm curious because the Clippers are coming back to Philadelphia this week on Wednesday. James Harden's return since he was traded.
Right.
What type of reception does James Harden get? Does anyone care anymore? Like, it seemed like Nick Nurse, I think, spoke after the game. Like, no one really cares about the Harden trade and how everything went down. Does he get booed? Is it a strong boo? I don't think it's a Ben Simmons-like boo at all. But I think he'll have some boos. But it's not going to be as strong as maybe other players returning.
It won't be a Ben Simmons boo, but there will be some sort of disorderly disgruntledness about Harden being name called kind of thing. They'll maybe a little extra loud what or something like that by the crowd, and then maybe a boo his first touch of the ball or something. Because the thing with Harden is that Harden leaving Philadelphia was more of like we're getting a divorce more than we can't stand you anymore kind of
right.
thing. It was more like two people, they got married for the wrong reasons and they realized they shouldn't be together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what the Harden situation was. And, the whole Daryl Morey's a liar, the whole, all that stuff. I mean, it's a whole thing. And I think at this point, Sixer fans are more concerned about Embiid coming back than they are about Harden coming back to Philadelphia.
Yeah, I'm with you. And the divorce really wasn't the Sixers and Harden. It was really Morey and right. Harden. That was the divorce right there. They could not get along in the end. They're calling each other liars, blah, blah, blah. It is what it is. But yeah, I don't think it'll be as strong as a reaction. And I think, we got to give credit to Harden in the sense that he was key to developing Tyrese Maxey. I think he was very important to the development of his shot. I mean, we see the step back.
Well, it depends on who you ask, because some people say that's Sam Cassell who taught him some of that stuff. Other people say it's James Harden. So which side do you take there?
I would say both. I would say it was definitely probably a little bit of both. I don't think you could just say it's one or the other. I would say it's a little bit of Sam Cassell and James Harden. I mean, he emulates Harden's step back. I mean, it's pretty obvious that he had something to do with it.
All right, so before we let you go, because that was Nick's Nuggets, I got a nugget for you.
Ooh.
Because my question of the day today was, what was your favorite game or games of the weekend? Was it the March Madness or was it the Sixers win? Now, I've got some answers telling me that I should have thrown in the Flyers win on Saturday, but I said the Sunday loss like a slap in the face. So it was hard to enjoy Saturday when Sunday came around and Felix Sandstrom was so bad that Tortorella walked down the press conference. So for Nick Earnshaw, what was your favorite game or games of the weekend?
I got to be honest. I'm going to go with the Sixers. Seeing James Harden lose and seeing the Sixers win on the road against a good Clippers team out there, I have no hope for this team anymore. And to see a victory like that, I'm such a Sixers nerd that I got to go with the Sixers. My bracket's been busted, so I've been like in and out of the March Madness now. I'm giving up on my bracket, man. It's so bad this year that I'm just like, I'm done. I'm over it. I'm sick of it. I don't even want to look at it anymore. It's that bad. So I'm gonna go Sixers. I'm more excited that they won, beating James Harden, those bums out in LA, the Clippers. So that's where I'll go.
All right. Well, see, I will disagree with you on one thing. I had no dog in the fight, but the Creighton-Oregon double overtime game
that was a good
night. I stayed up so late watching that I couldn't stop watching. No matter how tired I was, I felt like those TV commercials, see like the person like eyes glued to the TV and they can't blink anymore. Like I felt like I was turned into like a basketball zombie because that was the second overtime game I watched on Saturday. So I was just like, another overtime game. Here we go.
Josh, I couldn't make it on Saturday. I was an old man and I fell asleep. Old man. I was out pretty early on Saturday. I couldn't make it through the whole thing. So if I was able to stay up for that, I probably would have said that game. But I got to go Sixers actually winning a basketball game on the West Coast. Gotta love it. Gotta love it.
Nick Earnshaw calling himself an old man, but he's 15 years younger than me. So there you go. Nick, I appreciate you jumping on. When you are back with Mike Gill on Thursday, Mike will be in this seat and not me. So I appreciate you jumping on with me today and have a good one, man.
Thanks, Josh. Always fun talking sports with you, man. Have a good one.
Absolutely. Of course, The Fix is the podcast. Nick Earnshaw does that of course, as well. And the weekends with Billy Schwein, the locker room here on 97.3 ESPN. We'll wrap up the third hour of the Sports Bash on the other side. Josh Hennig hanging out with you, filling in for Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN.
You're listening to the Sports Bash with Mike Gill.
And it just keeps getting better.
97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
Hey, South Jersey contractors, is your current supplier failing on your railing? Dennisville Fence can supply or install whatever type of railing you need. Our full line of low voltage lighting will knock your job out of the park. With materials delivered right to your home or job site, we make it easy to get you the products you need when you need them. Visit DennisvilleFence.com or our newest location at 229 Shore Road in Summers Point.
Pick up the phone and call Dennisville Fence. 1-800-499-FENCE.
Visit DennisvilleFence.com.
Want more speed? Then you're in luck, because Xfinity just increased their internet speeds, and they're faster than ever. Plus, with super fast internet and a reliable connection, you can do more of what you love whenever you want. More gaming, more downloading, more video chatting, and more cozy nights on the couch streaming your favorite movies and TV shows. If life with double the speed is sounding pretty awesome, that's because it is. It's time to get more out of your internet with faster speeds from Xfinity. Get 150 megabit Xfinity internet for only $25 a month for 12 months with no annual contract. That's double the speed for half the price. Go to Xfinity.com, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit a store today. Requires paperless billing and autopay with stored bank account. Restrictions apply. Equipment, taxes, and other charges extra. After promo, regular rates apply. Actual speeds vary and not guaranteed.
Do you love a good cigar almost as much as your family? Well, maybe that's an exaggeration, but you can find that perfect cigar at Smoker's Haven. With 5 New Jersey locations, Smoker's Haven has the finest selection of cigars in the area, like Ashton, My Father's, Romeo and Julieta, Monte Cristo, and more. All from the finest tobacco leaves and hand-rolled by the world's finest cigar makers. All locations are fully open. Stop in and let them help you find the perfect cigar to pair with your life. See all they have and their locations at smokershavennj.com.
Sorry, but we actually have a wait list for our Monstera.
Shaw's greenhouse is really bringing in the green.
We can't keep snake plants and stuff.
She needs a construction manager to build on her roots and grow.
We could add a whole section for ferns. Here we'd have dahlias, dahlias, and more dahlias.
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. You can schedule and conduct virtual interviews all from your employer dashboard. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Champion Exteriors, Champion, the one you call first. Voted best of the best in Jersey Shores. For roofing and siding, windows and doors. 24-month financing, no payments, no interest. You're certified GAF elite contractors. Champion-exteriors.com. Champion Exteriors, Champion, the one you call first.
Whatever happened to Tony Horton, the guy who created the revolutionary P90X?
2017, I was knocked down. A very rare type of shingles that went straight into my brain. My body was completely wasting away. I started researching everything related to building my muscle back again. That's when I learned about the potential of HMB plus vitamin D3 and what they can do when it comes to helping build new muscle.
So Tony developed high-impact protein by Power Life.
Just add 1 scoop of high-impact protein to a glass of water or your morning smoothie and enjoy the effects of that boss molecule and factory worker combination. Reshaping your body each and every day. More energy, burn more fat, and probably drop a few pounds along the way.
High-impact protein by Power Life is a tasty once-a-day powder that comes in either whey or plant protein. Go to mypowerlife.com and use code MUSCLE to save 30%. Tony even offers a 90-day guarantee. Go to mypowerlife.com or text MUSCLE to 511-511. Text MUSCLE to 511-511 today. All individuals are unique. Your results can and will vary. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Tax fees may apply.
With GMF financing to qualified buyers, excludes Corvette, excludes prior sales.
If you're waiting for the best deal on a new or pre-owned vehicle, stop waiting and listen to these incredible deals at Bennett Chevrolet during March Markdown, where you can save up to 20% on new Chevys. Yes, up to 20% savings with GM supplier employee pricing. Plus, you keep all the rebates. No games, no gimmicks. Just the best offer you'll find anywhere. Plus, there's available 1.9% financing. And Bennett is paying a whopping $10,000 gets cash for any clunker towards any pre-owned vehicle in stock. That is a minimum 10 grand regardless of condition or miles. Can you imagine how much more you'll get for a good quality trade? While Bennett Chevy offers the best deals you can find on any newer pre-owned vehicle, you can always count on a wonderful car buying experience with our non-commissioned sales team, who are paid on your satisfaction, not how much you spend. Nobody beats a Bennett deal. Nobody. Together, let's drive at Bennett Chevrolet, Egg Harbor Township, and BennettChevy.com.
We have the perfect solution for sitting in traffic.
Come with me.
The Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
All right, before we wrap up the 4 o'clock hour, we get to Bob Wankel from Crossing Broad to get more into the Phillies and the evolution of their roster. I saw this quote from D'Amico Ryan and the Texans. So at the NFL owners' meetings, that coaches, GMs talking, and when the Texans were asked why they traded out of the first round, they said, we feel the sweet spot in the draft is the second, third, and fourth rounds this year. That's code speak for we're going to have salary cap problems in the near future. So instead of us investing in any more draft picks this year, we're going to only get second and third or fourth round picks to save ourselves some money, short and long term. I mean, what a bunch of horse manure. A sweet spot is the second, third, and fourth round. No, we don't want talent in Houston, Texas.
Are you already doing digital advertising sales? Do you know all about targeted display, social media marketing, the latest in SEM and behavioral targeting? If so, you could be Town Square Media's newest advertising sales star. We are looking for passionate sales professionals to join our media and digital advertising team. If consulting and connecting local business with their ideal audience for growth sounds exciting, let's have a conversation about you working for Town Square Media. The right career choice is all about timing, and right now is the perfect time to join our team as an advertising account executive. Our comp package is amazing with unlimited earning potential, including base salary, 401k match, and more, along with world-class training and plenty of room for growth. If you're competitive, driven, and have the ability to communicate great ideas, we want to hear from you. Reach out to Michael Rubel, Market President, at 609-910-5249 or visit careers.townsquaremedia.com. Town Square Media is an equal opportunity employer.
Drive like a champion when you lease with the winning team at BMW of Atlantic City. We're dishing out the ultimate assist of game-changing lease offers on our all-pro lineup of ultimate driving machines, like a new 2024 X3 xDrive 30i. Lease for $649 a month. 36 months, zero security deposit at BMW of Atlantic City. Closer than you think. Located in Egg Harbor Township. Online at bmwatlanticcity.com. For more details, call 609-316-2393.
Find what you love, love what you find. A Total Wine and More. There's so much waiting for you. Spirits and beer, thousands of wines. Walk right through the door. It's all here to explore. With guides in the know and prices so low, it just might blow your mind. You're gonna find what you love and love what you find.
Drink responsibly, B21.
When you open the Bet Parks app, you're in the zone. Winning is always a rush, but the money is in the moments. It's the anticipation of another face card, the thrill of an extra spin, and the pure joy of a jackpot. It's all your favorite games at your fingertips. Plus, get up to $1,000 casino bonus back if you're down in the first 24 hours. You play for fun, you love to win. You bet. Bet Parks.
Must be 21 in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Ohio, or Maryland. Gambling problem? 1-800-GAMBLER.
One night, one stage. Woo! Country music's hottest supergroup, the Frontmen, featuring Richie McDonald, formerly of Lone Star. Baby, Larry Stewart, lead singer of Restless Heart. Tim Rushlow, formerly of Little Texas. Friday, March 29th, the Excite Center at Parks Casino. The voices that brought you 3 decades of #1 country hits live. On sale now at parkscasino.com. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Brakes? We can save you 15% on that. We have OE quality Duralast brake pads and rotors in stock, ready for pickup or delivery. We also have calipers, brake fluid, tools, and anything else you'll need to do the job right. When you get Duralast pads and rotors together, you'll save 15%. It's just part of what makes us America's #1 brakes destination.
Is your home ready for the heat of summer? Now is the best time to schedule that spring tune-up. Or is it really time to replace that old air conditioning system? Call Jenkins, the company local homeowners have trusted for 75 years. Take advantage of no-interest financing along with generous rebates. Additional financing and rebate offers may be available through your local utility company, too. Qualifications may apply. 609-641-6262. Online at jenkinsandsons.com.
Tax Talk with Straight Talk.
You give and you give. This tax season, you get with Straight Talk Wireless. You get a reliable 5G network and unlimited data and a Samsung Galaxy A14 included when you buy an extended silver unlimited plan. So you can give your janky phone to your kid.
Switch to Straight Talk. Find us at Walmart and straighttalk.com. For network management practices, visit straighttalk.com. Device offer ends 4/14/24. Taxes and fees apply.
Go for the pulse and the pools. Go for the hot streak and the hot tubs. Go for a relaxing massage and for wild nights with your entourage. Go to play all day and to dance all night. Go for the rooms with the ocean views that go on forever. Go for paradise with a pair of dice. Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com. Must be 21 or older. Party responsibly. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Home of the Philadelphia Eagles.
They've got him. It's a sack.
Sixers.
Oh, baby.
And Flyers.
He scored.
97.3 ESPN, WENJ, WENJ HD, Millville, Atlantic City, a Town Square media station serving all of South Jersey. This is the Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. Now live from inside the Ocean Casino Resort studio, here's Mike Gill.
Josh Henning filling for Mike Gill here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. Counting down the days of Phillies opening day. Of course, Mike Gill will be back when the Phillies return from spring training, and the Phillies watch party will be this Thursday at Maynard's in Margate. Mike Gill, the Sports Bash, will be hanging out at Maynard's all day for Phillies opening day. But who will be on the field with the opening day lineup to get all those details and more? Bob Wankel from Crossing Broad covers the Phillies. Red October, that's the newsletter. And he is back here on 97.3 ESPN to discuss the Phillies. As it's already been, Bob, an interesting last 36 hours for the Phillies. How you doing today? All right, man. Good to talk to you. So let's start with the kind of like the trajectory of this. You know, I'll be honest, Bob. I was happy when the Phillies got rid of Jake Cave. I'm done with the Jake Cave experiment. But then I was surprised that Cody Clemens got sent down because I thought Cave being gone, that Clemens was going to make it. Well, I was wrong. So what is your take on how the roster has developed?
Well, I think that they said a couple things. It was very obvious that the results weren't really going to decide whether or not Johan Rojas was going to make the team because the results this spring were dreadful. I mean, at least when you just look at average and look at production. Now, they'll tell you that they've been that they asked him to do a lot with his swing, sort of reconstruct his approach and reconstruct his swing, and to not worry about the results. And so you can look at it. You know, I know a lot of people have said here over the last few days, they don't really need him to hit. The defense is so good. I can go for that to an extent. He does not need to hit 250. Probably doesn't need to hit 230 for it to really matter. But it is going to matter if the rest of the lineup doesn't do what it's supposed to do. So you can sit there and say, well, you know, you don't need production from him in center field. The rest of the lineup's so good. Well, it better be because they're, terms of 313. I know he hit a little over 300, short amount that he played late last season. You know what happened in the postseason. It wasn't very good. Right now, he just doesn't look like a capable major league hitter. Maybe the light goes on here later this week, and he's able to kind of carry some momentum. But they're definitely rolling the dice a little bit, I think, by starting the season with him.
When you think about what could have been, right? You know, like today, they felt like a little tease, right? It was no Rojas in the lineup today for the final game. It was Mosher out there with Merrifield. So would you, Bob, have preferred to see Rojas AAA and then put Marsh in center and Merrifield in left.
So I think that's what you're going to see on opening day with Strider on the mound. I would be very surprised if Brandon Marsh wasn't in center field with Merrifield wasn't playing in left field. We'll see. I mean, this kind of goes back to what are you going to do here? It's like, do you want the kid to play every day and get consistent at bats, or are you going to kind of pick your spots? I mean, asking him to go up against Spencer Strider's one heck of a matchup. So are you more comfortable going with Marsh out in center and then probably, well, the significantly better bat with Merrifield out in left? I mean, these games matter. Talk about wanting to win the division, trying to bridge a 14-game gap in the regular season from a year ago with the Braves. Like, you want to win this series at home, make an opening statement. So this is the question. You said, hey, is it a good idea whether or not he should have started the year in AAA? The answer is it's all each individual player. You know, would you lose the player if you send him to AAA? Would you crush his confidence in doing that? Because you know the glove is good enough to kind of let the experiment play out. So how would he have responded? And I think that's something the Phillies had to consider to some extent. I don't really have an issue with letting him start the season up here, see how it goes for 25, 30 games. And if it's just a disaster at the plate like we saw last October and for much of the spring, then the Phillies probably have to make a decision. Maybe Christian Pache starts to play a little bit more at that point.
You mentioned Pache. That was the reason why, in part, I looked at the way that the bench was developing because, you know, we know who these guys are, right, Bob? Pache is basically he could play the outfield. Merrifield could play the outfield and the middle infield. And Mundo Sosa could play most of the infield positions. But, you know, I was a little surprised the way they're going because it feels like they're saying, Bob, hey, if we need someone to play first base, we're okay with kicking Bohm out of third to first again. And I know for me, Bob, listen, I'm not a baseball manager. I've never managed a baseball team in my life. But from my perspective, I would like to keep Bohm at third base and stop kicking him back and forth on the diamond.
Well, I'll say this. We're talking about, you know, expectations and divisions and making another deep playoff run. And if Alec Bohm has to play for an extended amount at first base, then we're having whole different conversations. Something has gone very, very, very wrong. I mean, I just look at the way the bench is constructed, and I think that it kind of comes down to this. I think ultimately the Phillies sort of landed on this. Two things. Christian Pache is valuable to this team because if it doesn't work out with Johan Rojas, you have another guy that can play a little bit of defense, and maybe his floor isn't quite as low as Johan Rojas is offensively. And by no means is Christian Pache an offensive force, but he swung the bat okay down in Clearwater this spring and did a nice job in spots for the Phillies last year. And I think that they kind of wanted to have that insurance policy. And I think when you get kind of caught up too and you look at the lefty-righty stuff, the Phillies sort of have a luxury here of what right-handed bat are you hitting for in the Phillies lineup, really, of the everyday starters. So when they start their right-handed hitters, pretty much all of these guys are guys that you would want to hit independent of facing a lefty or a righty late in the game, except Johan Rojas or whoever's playing center field, if it is Christian Pache. Those are probably the two guys that you would hit for. And I guess they feel like if Merrifield's on the bench or if Marsh is down to start a game against a lefty, that's going to be their move that they can go to. So I think that they were a little bit more comfortable with it, just the way things line up with this group of right-handed hitters. And I think that that's why they kind of opted to go the way they did and left Cody Clemens off the opening day roster.
Talking with Bob Wankel, covers the Phillies for Crossing Broad. Of course, the podcast is Crossed Up. And of course, Red October Philly is the newsletter. Of course, follow Rob on the Twitter X platform at Bob_Wankel. And to subscribe to the newsletter, go to redoctoberphilly.com/subscribe. Bob, let's flip it over to, we all have an idea what the starting lineup looks like, right? But let me ask you this. Knowing how last year went, I've gotten questions from people asking, should we be concerned that this team is going to have another slow start? They've been a slow starting unit the last couple years. So could this year be different? And it being different, is that a good thing? Because remember, they did slow start and they've gotten to the NLCS 2 straight years.
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's an important one because if the Phillies want to contend for a division, they absolutely can't get 2 months of the season and be, 6, 7, 8 games under 500 like they've been each of the last 2 years. 2 years ago, different circumstance. Team was kind of gelling, a lot of new parts, trying to figure it out in a new city. Joe Girardi was still here at this point, obviously. And so you kind of you write that one off, and you kind of expected last year for them to learn from their mistakes, get off to a better start. But again, there were a lot of different things going on. Certainly Trey Turner got off to a slow start. Bryce Harper wasn't, in the mix, and took him a while to really get going and find his power stroke as the season went on. You had Bailey Falter making starts, and that was less than an ideal situation. And I think that, admittedly, as the season kind of got started, a lot of those guys talked about having a little bit of a World Series hangover the year before, kind of thinking that they would show up and it would all just sort of carry over. And a lot of them talked about playing at that level in the red October and the crazy stadiums and sort of having to hit the reset button and you're back in April again. And the juice just isn't quite the same. So you would like to think that a really veteran group that's talking, we need to compete for the division. We have to get out to a faster start. This is a point of emphasis for us. I think despite the way last year ended and each of the last 2 years have started, these guys have shown that they know what they're doing. They know how to win. They're a good group. They're a group that, for the most part, I think you can trust. So I would be stunned if we were sitting here around Memorial Day talking about, oh, here are the Phillies again, 5 games under 500, 9 games back of the Braves. Hope they win a wild card. Like I would be surprised if it started like that again.
Also, the other thing is, they had all those guys in the World Baseball Classic last year. Harper was injured at the beginning of the year. Ranger Suarez was injured at the start of the beginning of the year. So it's not like this is the same circumstances as last year, right, Bob? So it's like, I feel like it's a little unfair to try to make an apples to apples comparison when the circumstances are not all the same each of the last few years.
I totally agree with that. And if you're thinking that this isn't going to start well, the one thing I would give you is this. They haven't been great this month in Florida. You go up and down and you look at the everyday guys and you see the numbers and you're like, oh man, Nick Castellanos is hitting 125. And we just talked about Rojas' struggles. Schwarber hasn't done much. But like you look at it, it's a veteran group. I truly think that they were just like, let's just get through this. Let's just get to game one. I think they're going to be dialed in. I really do. And I would be surprised. Listen, they have quite a test right off the bat. I'm not sitting here telling you that the Phillies are going to, go 18-7 in their first 25 games or win 102 games this season and be great from start to finish. But I do think that it's certainly a point of emphasis with these guys to just get off to a quicker start.
But we could flip over to the pitching staff, because there's a lot of people who are scratching their head about Taijuan Walker not starting the year, because initially it was Walker saying, hey, I'm good, I'm fine, don't worry about the miles per hour, right? And all of a sudden it's, oh, by the way, Walker's not going to start the season, and it's Spencer Turnbull who's going to get his turn, no pun intended, in the rotation. So what is your take on the starting staff right now? Because we know Wheeler, we know Nola, we know Suarez when he's healthy, and we even know Sanchez, but this whole Walker thing is just so bizarre.
Yeah, it's certainly disappointing. One thing I will say, I want to kind of put this qualifier on everything I'm about to say. From all accounts, Taijuan Walker's a good teammate and a good guy. And I know that, there's been disappointment about the way this has played out. There's disappointment about his season a year ago, though it probably wasn't as bad statistically as people make it out to be. He really struggled early on in games, but still gave them a decent amount of innings and made starts. I think that it's kind of gotten a little bit carried away about what he is. I feel like that there's kind of been this attack on his character, and I think that that's unfair. Now, that being said, it's super disappointing. Here's a guy that the way the postseason goes last year, he's not on the field. He's making $18 million a year. Who would have ever thought that would have been the case? He's posted pictures from the weight room last October. Like, I'm going to be back. Wait and see. Don't doubt me. That kind of vibe. And he shows up to camp. He's got some personal things going on. He's got a knee thing going on. Now he's got a shoulder thing going on. And I don't know how much you can count on him at this point. He's certainly going to be delayed. I'd be surprised if he pitches in the month of April. Even when he was on the field again this spring, he was having a hard time with the velocity, which I would say for a veteran guy to be struggling with velocity isn't a big deal in and of itself. But this is a guy that struggled with his velocity and maintaining it last year. So it's definitely concerning on numerous fronts. And I think it's fair to wonder what you're going to get from him whenever he does return, and assuming that he returns, which the indications are right now that he will. But definitely a big wild card. And then if you look at Spencer Turnbull, This is a guy that I think you're hoping can give you 4 to 5 innings every time he takes the ball and sort of survive those first few times through the rotation. He's working his way back. He's second year removed from an injury, an elbow injury. They're hoping that he makes a jump. He struggled a little bit last year, but it's not a great situation for a team with the expectations being what they are.
Is it smart of Dombrowski to be dismissing the idea of a Jordan Montgomery or going to get someone so flippantly as I wouldn't say he was doing flippantly, but it felt like Dombrowski, when he was asked about it, he was just like, oh, we're fine. We got Turnbull. Like, should he have been so quick to run the Turnbull, or should he maybe have been a little more open to the idea of maybe we need to add somebody?
I think it really depends on what the market ends up being. There's a thought out there that he's starting to get some long-term offers. I don't know if that's just Boris, doing the work, talking to some reporters and saying, hey, I need you to do me a favor. Let's turn up the volume on this a little bit. You never really know when you hear that stuff. But there's two ways to look at it. It would only cost you money to do a deal with Jordan Montgomery. It wouldn't cost you picks. You wouldn't have to worry about trading prospects in the middle of the year. He's going to give you 170 innings. He's probably going to have an ERA in the mid-3s. He probably becomes the Phillies' third best starting pitcher upon arrival, and that's not a knock on Ranger Suarez, who I obviously like a lot. But it would certainly make the Phillies better. There's no question about it. You can't argue that. At the same time, the Phillies do have a budget, and Dave Dombrowski was pretty quick to say that. It's a big budget. I don't think by any stretch of the imagination you can question the Phillies' financial commitment to winning or building a roster. But they're up against it here, when you look at it. And if you're going to make a significant addition at some point this year, is it better to wait and see where those deficiencies truly exist? Because what happens if you do need a starting pitcher? What happens if your bullpen isn't quite what you thought it was going to be? What happens if center field is just a total disaster, right? And you're like, we need to go out and get a more versatile everyday outfielder that can do a little bit of everything for us. You don't have unlimited resources here. So I think that the expectation of Taijuan Walker was not so high that the loss of him is really going to make them change the way that they felt maybe a week ago. And I would be stunned if anything on that front happened.
The other side of it is, and I know it, I've seen people talk about the social media. So you know how it is when you read social media, it definitely dilutes your ability to think like a normal human being. But, I have seen, Bob, the idea that, people are concerned is, Ranger Suarez has never pitched a full season as a starter. So is there any idea that the Phillies might need another pitcher, because there's no guarantee that Ranger is going to get you 100 to 180 innings this year?
Yeah, Ranger Suarez had a really strange year last season. He came up pretty big in the postseason. He was great during stretches, and he struggled at times. He got off to a tough start last year. Obviously, his spring training was disrupted, got started late. He dealt with some things physically, and I think that this year he's had the full spring. He's on schedule. He's been phenomenal. He threw the ball great down in Florida. I just think the Phillies expect him to take that jump. And here's what I would say. That is absolutely a reasonable concern. It's totally possible that he's not able to pitch 170, 180 innings, make 32 starts. But there are teams all across baseball, even the really good ones, that have questions and have holes and have to kind of hope that things go the way that they plan for them to go. And so you're not going to be rock solid everywhere. You're not going to be airtight and have a great plan B everywhere. I think that trusting Ranger Suarez, there are some teams that would love to be in that position. That's how I would say it.
Bob, before I let you go, I did want to also ask you, there's no guarantee, as we know in baseball, that the lineup and the team that we see on opening day will be the product you see by the time you get to September. So is there a player or a position that you are going to keep an eye on the most over the next couple months before the deadline that you say, listen, guys, I'm telling you right now on March 25th, if we don't get more from this position or these players, that Dombrowski is going to make a move?
It's a great question. Yeah, I mean, I think you're pretty locked in at a lot of these spots. Center field certainly jumps out at you for the reasons that we've discussed. So I wouldn't be surprised, I guess, if another outfield addition was made. They are protected a little bit. They probably end up playing Whit Merrifield a little bit more than they want to. The one wild card, like if you want to get crazy with it, I would just say look at third base. You're not going to upgrade it at catcher. You're not going to upgrade at first base. They love Stott. There's just not a lot of flexibility with some of these guys. But is there a world where maybe Alec Bohm struggles? They're not going to commit to him long term. I'm not saying that they won't, but maybe they decide this just isn't the guy. And there's some option out there for third base where you say we can go out and get a big bat and really make a big time upgrade here. That's going to depend on the season that Alec Bohm has. But like, I would say no to your question. But if there's a place beyond center field, beyond the obvious, it would probably be third base.
See, I was thinking you were going to go maybe like the bullpen or something. Like that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, I mean, well, certainly, people love this bullpen, and we'll see. Like
who are these people?
I mean, you look at scouting, like they'll tell you, like I'll give you the positive spin. Like, let me
give me the spin. All right.
So you have some veteran guys out there with big time velocity. Like there's a big leap that Jeff Hoffman can make. Gregory Soto last year actually threw the ball a lot better than his ERA would indicate. He just had a couple blow-up appearances. A lot of his underlying numbers suggest that he was actually even better than he was in 2022 when he was an all-star. Talk about Kerkering and the upside there. Certainly, Sir Anthony Dominguez had a good spring. I think the Phillies really expect him to be more like the guy that we've seen in past years. And, Jose Alvarado at times can go for 5-6 weeks at a time where he's the best reliever in baseball. So there is some upside here. And I like a lot of these arms. My concern is kind of early on here, Kerkering not being ready. You're going to see guys like Connor Brogdon, Luis Ortiz, Marte. Like if the Phillies aren't stretched out and getting quality appearances from their starters, then the bullpen could be taxed early on, and it could get a little ugly in the early going. So there's definitely concern there, but there's some upside as well, some real upside.
All right, fair enough. I mean, I'm not going to act like I'm the baseball expert. That's a Mike Gill category.
I mean, hey, listen, I would put my over under. I would put my over under in April of guys saving games for the Phillies at 3.5. I mean, I think that there's
I'll take that over. I'll go over, Bob.
Yeah. The one thing you like about them is that they have a couple guys that can do it, but the downside is that they don't have one guy circled. You're our guy, and that some people, especially in this city, like they like to have the closer. They want to hear the theme music and have the lights go off, and they don't have that right now. That's a question they're going to have to answer.
Listen. I know this is a totally thing, Bob. I'm willing to bet that by the end of this season, that Spencer Turnbull will have a win and a save this year.
Okay, that's a bold strategy. I like that. That's a bold take. I'm in. I'm in. Let's get big on Spencer Turnbull.
All right. Well, we'll go with that. And by the end of the year, when I'm wrong, you can mention it. Okay.
All right. Yeah, I like it though. I'm in.
Bob Wankel from Crossing Broad here at Bob_Wankel on the Twitter X platform. The podcast is called Crossed Up, a Phillies podcast. And of course, the Red October Daily newsletter. Sign up for it at redoctoberphilly.com. Great stuff today, Bob.
All right. Thanks, man. Talk soon.
Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. Our conversation with Bob Wankel being brought to you by the New Jersey Lottery. Quick Draw from New Jersey Lottery is now Quick Draw Progressive with a free shot at winning a rolling jackpot. There's a free chance to win the growing jackpot every time you play with the New Jersey Lottery. All right, we'll check back on the text board. Coming up next, 609-403-0973 is the text board. Your DMs into 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. For those who might be tuning in now, you might not have heard our question of the day earlier today, which was at 973 ESPN on Facebook. We asked, and we'll ask you guys here on the radio as well, what was your favorite game or games from the weekend? Was it a March Madness game? Was it the Sixers win? Was it the Flyers on Saturday? You let me know. We'll discuss all that and more still to come. Also, Howie Roseman spoke to the media today, had some interesting comments about the Eagles. Do we believe him? Do we think it's Howie Roseman speak? Is he being consistent with what he's done in the past? All that and more still to come as we have the 5 o'clock hour driving you home here on 97.3 ESPN FM. And don't forget the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. It's free thanks to First Bank of Seattle City.
It's the Sports Bash with Mike Gill.
And I am the voice of the voiceless.
On 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Brakes? We can save you 15% on that. We have OE quality Duralast brake pads and rotors in stock, ready for pickup or delivery. We also have calipers, brake fluid, tools, and anything else you'll need to do the job right. When you get Duralast pads and rotors together, you'll save 15%. It's just part of what makes us America's #1 brakes destination.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Find what you love, love what you find. A Total Wine and More. There's so much waiting for you. Spirits and beer, thousands of wines. Walk right through the door. It's all here to explore. With guides in the know and prices so low, it just might blow your mind. You're gonna find what you love and love what you find.
Drink responsibly, B21.
Listen up, New Jersey and Philly car buyers. Matt Blatt Mitsubishi has only 3 questions for you. Do you have a job? Do you want a new car? Do you want 0 down? Why would you buy a used car or pay high interest rates? If you have a job clearing $450 per week, Matt Blatt Mitsubishi wants to approve you. So bring any trade and drive home in a brand new Mitsubishi, like the all-new 2023 Mitsubishi Outlander with 0 down and 0% financing for 60 months. Plus a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited warranty for the price of most used cars with 0 down. Blatt Mitsubishi keeps the rates low. With a 4-day love it or leave it return policy, you can't go wrong. Simply Matt Blatt Mitsubishi. Rate qualifications exist with approved credit. 1666 per 1,000 finance on in-stock 2023 Mitsubishi Outlanders. Not all will qualify. Go to mattblattmitsubishi.com for complete details or call 844-946-2315. Price includes all costs to be paid by consumer, except for licensing, registration, and taxes. Expires 4/1/24. Matt Blatt Mitsubishi in the heart of Glassboro for 30 years.
At Target, count on our great deals just in time for Easter. Save $5 when you spend $30 on toys with Target Circle, so you can fill their baskets with fun, like cuddly stuffed animals or 50-piece sidewalk chalk, all from only $5. Add an Easter chocolate faves at BOGO 50% off, from Cadbury to Reese's Mini Eggs and more. And get great family picks with new Easter looks. It's easy with 20% off dresses, polos, and more. Shop in fast for our best Easter deals, only at Target. Restrictions apply.
We're going abroad for the first time in years, to Spain. So we started using Babbel.
And started learning Spanish fast.
With Babbel, you can start having conversations in another language in just 3 weeks.
¿Cómo te llamas? ¿Cómo te llamas?
When you learn a language, you want to actually use it. Babbel is designed with that goal in mind.
In just 3 weeks, we're starting to have conversations in Spanish. Gracias, Babbel.
Babbel, language for life. Now try Babbel for free at Babbel.com. That's BABBEL.com.
Pizza's here. Oh, great. I'd love some, but I'm worried about my stomach issues.
If you're worried about having diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools, it may not just be stomach issues. It could be a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
Tax Talk with Straight Talk.
You give and you give. This tax season, you get with Straight Talk Wireless. You get a reliable 5G network and unlimited data and a Samsung Galaxy A14 included when you buy an extended silver unlimited plan. So you can give your janky phone to your kid.
Switch to Straight Talk. Find us at Walmart and StraightTalk.com. For network management practices, visit StraightTalk.com. Device offer ends 4/14/24. Taxes and fees apply.
Powered by the all-new BetParks New Jersey Casino and Sportsbook app. BetParks.com. This is the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network.
The Sixers play the Kings, the Phillies lose to the Rays, and the Flyers get the night off. This is Danny Ryan with your South Jersey Sports Center. After beating James Harden and the Clippers last night in LA, the 76ers are back in action tonight against the Sacramento Kings. Listen to the game live right here on 97.3 ESPN. Coverage starts at 10 p.m. The Phillies fell to the Tampa Bay Rays this afternoon by a final score of 6-3. Next up, the Fightins will officially open the 2024 season Thursday afternoon in Philadelphia against the rival Atlanta Braves. Zach Wheeler takes the mound against Spencer Strider for a 3:05 first pitch. After a tough loss last night to the Panthers, the Flyers will hit the road to take on the Rangers tomorrow night. You can listen to the game live right here on 97.3 ESPN. Coverage starts at 7 following game night with Josh Hennig. For more Eagles, Sixers, Phillies, and Flyers, download our free mobile app. Your forecast is next.
Want healthier relationships, healthier gatherings, healthier workouts? Stay up to date on your flu and COVID shots. Getting vaccinated makes everything you do healthier. Learn more at nj.gov/health/vaccines.
From the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network, an onshore breeze will become a bit of a nuisance here, sparking increasing cloud cover tonight, cooler than normal temperatures for the duration, and a continuing coastal flooding threat for the next 2 high tide cycles at least. Low temperature tonight around 38. Tomorrow's high only 48. It'll be mostly cloudy with a chance of a sprinkle. A few more rain showers coming Wednesday with lots of clouds, high 52. Even better rain chance Thursday. Get weather 24/7 wherever you are. Download our free mobile app today.
This is an important safety message from the New Jersey Division of Highway Traffic Safety.
Did you know that driving under the influence of marijuana is illegal? Driving high will get you a DUI. And if you're wondering if law enforcement can tell you're driving high, well, everyone can. If you feel different, you drive different. Drive high, get a DUI.
A message from the New Jersey Division of Highway Traffic Safety.
You're listening to the Sports Bash with Mike Gill.
Never thought this radio stunt would catch on so big.
On 97.3 ESPN.
Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill here on 97.3 ESPN FM and a 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. Check out the text board in just a moment at 609-403-0973. Your DMs into the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. Don't forget, Flyers fans, it's time to level up your game day ritual with the ultimate power duo, the Philadelphia Flyers and Union Forge Vodka. Cheer on the Flyers with the best tasting vodka produced right here in the Philadelphia area. Grab a Union Forge bottle today. Flyers, of course, back in action tomorrow night. You hear the game right here on 97.3 ESPN. It's the Flyers ended their 3-game point streak yesterday, thanks to Felix Sandstrom being basically the worst goaltender the Flyers have had in a long time. So that was a great Sunday cap. I mean, you got all these good vibes this weekend. That's why I asked the question, like, what was your favorite game or games of the weekend? Because, you know, the March Madness was absolutely wild this weekend. The Sixers get the win on Sunday, and it's like, and then the Flyers come along and just completely disappoint you. Completely. Just, you felt deflated by the end of that whole thing. You're like, really? Really, Flyers? I mean, Sandstrom was so bad that John Tortorella stormed out of the press conference. He couldn't even talk about it. That's how bad it was. Absolutely wild. Let's hear what some of you guys say out there. Shaner in EHC chimes in on the text board, says, my favorite game of the weekend has to go to the 76ers. The Harden headlock was kind of funny. I have no hate for old James. He did mentor Maxey, and I believe he learned what to and not to do from him. So it's a moral victory and a win in the standings. Shannon goes on to say, obviously they're still a buddy, so that's cool. I can't say I miss James Harden, but it was fun to watch the players be buddies and the Sixers win. That's from Shaner and EHT. Shannon, that's a very interesting take by you, because it's a very different what I've gotten from a lot of people today, because a lot of people who are saying the Sixers win, it was, yes, stick it to Harden. I'm so glad he's not here anymore, all that kind of stuff. But Shaner's taking a different perspective for saying, hey, look, Shaner, I'm not sure about words in your mouth, but Shaner is basically saying, from the way I read it, look, he doesn't hate Harden. He doesn't despise Harden. He says, look, Harden was here. He had value in him was here, and now he's not here, and we're moving on. And you know what? I'm glad that the guys don't have ill will toward him, because it kind of makes you feel better about Harden's short tenure here. And it's a very interesting take, because I think sometimes fans, not just Philly sports fans, because this is not an anti-Philly sports fan take. This is a sports fan in general take. Sports fans tend to take a lot of the happenings with their team in a very much of a us against the world type mentality. It's a very much a, our guys versus your guys. If you're no longer with us, you're against us kind of attitude. Instead, Shaner saying, look, Harden had value when he was here, but I don't want him to stay here, and I'm glad he's not here. And you know what? I'm glad that him and Maxey had a little moment there on the court, right? So, and by the way, James is a much bigger human being than Maxey, so it's not that crazy of an idea that he got to be a little more of a big brother type with him, not just in terms of age, but also in terms of the physically bigger brother, in terms of the optics. So it all kind of makes sense to me in excuse me, in that sense. So I definitely get that. The other thing with the Sixers win yesterday, as I said earlier today on the Sports Bash, I still go back to the Kelly Oubre playing well, because I think that Oubre's last few games has reflected in the Sixers' success to an extent. And even though he didn't score as many points as he did, the Lakers game Friday, the Heat game earlier in the week, the Suns game, he scored more points in those games, but he had a much more well-rounded impact on yesterday's game. So I think that the win yesterday was a big deal for this team. And, one of the things with this weekend as well is that when you have a lot of games to choose from, you can't watch everything all at once, right? You can't be in all places at all times. And even if you have, you're one of those people who has multiple TVs and multiple devices, and you're probably going to miss something somewhere. For example, for me, I was more excited about the Kelly Oubre block on what would have been a dunk than I cared about the Harden Maxey exchange. But that's me. I was happy that the Sixers game was on during the horrible Purdue blowout of Utah State. There were a lot of people I heard on national radio who were complaining about how there were no other games on at that time. All I kept thinking was, for Sixer fans or for basketball fans, there was another game. There was the Sixers and the Clippers. But I think that one of the problems is that, when you're on the national platform, and this is where I understand for some of you out there who listen to 97.3 ESPN FM and a 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank. See how this is where I understand where some of you look at the national hosts on the morning show on Sportsmanlike or Greeny in the late morning, or the midday show with Chris Carlin and Joe Fortenbaugh. You got to look at these guys with the side eye being like, come on, man. You sound ridiculous. How is the local fan supposed to identify with you when you say dumb stuff like that? So that's where I understand where some of you are coming from with that. The other thing with this weekend's games and action, before we move on from what Shaner and EHT was saying, is that he talked about how the Sixers win with an exclamation point. And I know it's just an exclamation point, but I think it's an emphasis. It's the idea that, as I said earlier today on 97.3 ESPN, Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill, it's the idea that they should have won on Friday night. You forced the Lakers to 20 turnovers. Tobias Harris played like trash. You should have won on Friday night. So it almost felt like you needed to win on Sunday to just get the good feelings back in you. You won 2 straight games. Then you lost 2 straight games. One of them you should have, could have won. So it was a bit of a pick-me-up yesterday to get that win, to get back on the winning track and get your mind right again. So it's a good job by Shaner and EHT for chiming in at 609-403-0973. But I do hat tip to the people out there who did say the Flyers. I had a couple of people. I had Steve out there, also Rich. They both said Flyers. And listen, I totally get where you're coming from, because the Flyers did have 3 straight games by getting points. And For those who don't understand fully how that works, in the NHL, you don't just make the postseason based on your win-loss record, because the problem with the NHL, games can end in a tie. The regulation ends in a tie. So the points allow you to still get credit for what's it called? For what's the word I'm looking for? For at least getting the game to overtime and putting your team in a position to win the game. Like, you still get a 1 point of credit for that. So they had a 3-game point streak. They beat the Maple Leafs. They got the 1 point in overtime against Carolina, and they beat Boston. That's a 3-game point streak that is a huge deal for the Flyers, considering where they are in the standings. They are trying to hold off a Capitals team that I still have no idea how the Capitals are even in a position to be even competing for the postseason. They are negative 27 on the year in goals for versus goals against. The fact that they're even in the conversation just baffles me. A team that was selling at the deadline, a team that most of us assumed was not going to even be in the conversation, but yet they're sniffing at the Flyers' heels. So the Flyers, that was a big few days for them to get games. But then, the Sandstrom situation is just such a bad look for the Flyers. And I don't know if there's anything they can do about it at this point. They have what, like 10 games? I'm going to get Kevin Durso on tomorrow when I fill in for Mike Gill one more day. I'm about to get Kevin Durso on because, this Flyer situation is absolutely bizarro world, because what is it? 12 games left. You got 12 games left, and you're not going to necessarily need the backup goaltender that many more times down the stretch, but you're going to need him at least once or twice, because you got one more back-to-back coming up. April 5th, April 6th, Buffalo and Columbus, both road games. So I'm assuming Sandstrom is going to have to play at least one more game. I don't want him to play any more games. I'm tired of Sandstrom and him being basically the worst Flyers goaltender since, I don't even know who was the last really good, bad Flyers goaltender. It's him. Whoever it was, Sandstrom and that guy is the same dude, because it absolutely perplexes me that this organization just, we'll be okay. Like, obviously you're not. Obviously, every time Sandstrom plays, you basically lose. You lost to the Panthers. You lost to the Bruins. You scored 5 goals against the Bruins on 2 weekends ago, and you still lost because your goaltender's name is Felix Sandstrom. It was bad enough that Cal Peterson lost a 7-6 game. Now Sandstrom has lost you 2 straight games. It's unacceptable to me. You potentially have you potentially have a playoff team that can make a dent, that can bring some excitement to the Philadelphia sports fan base. A team that is looking like they're going to be in 6th place in the postseason standings. And yet I got to see that garbage out there. Come on. Check back on the text board one more time. 609-403-0973. A texter says, what are you expecting, Josh, from the Ohtani press conference? I'm expecting a lot of nothing. First of all, Ohtani's not even going to take questions. So what do I do with that? What do I do with Ohtani not even taking questions? He can go up there, make a statement with a translator, the new translator, not the old one, and it's going to be poof. He just goes away. He'll disappear until the topic comes up again or baseball finishes their investigation. For me, I feel like the Ohtani situation is arguably one of the dumbest things I've ever heard in sports. First of all, I don't care how rich you are. Who on earth lets another man or individual have access to their bank account? Like, whether it's Ohtani giving his friend a $4.5 million loan, to which I ask, what kind of friend are you? Like, are you, I mean, were they dating on the side? Like, for goodness sake, I never heard of someone saying, yeah, here's $4.5 million. But then on the flip side, if he did steal from Ohtani because he had access to the money, why are you giving that dude access to your money? Like, to me, the problem with the Ohtani situation is that no matter what Ohtani says, are we really going to believe him? Are we really going to believe a dude who's talking through a translator? Seriously. I'm not going to believe it. I'm just going to take what he says and just shrug my shoulders and move on. Because until I get an independent investigation about what happened or what didn't happen, and how on earth was a guy who was under investigation by the FBI for 5 years, how is that guy roping in Ohtani's translator into a sports betting fiasco? It's like when the FBI was investigating those guys for the scandal in college basketball with the coaches and Adidas and all that stuff for years, and it's like nobody knew it was being investigated. Like, how do people go through life and just have no idea that maybe you just shouldn't associate with certain people because it might get you in trouble? That to me is the bigger problem here. How on earth did Ohtani and the Dodgers decide to hire a dude who has that few brain cells, who put himself in this bad situation, and that everyone who touched him is being questioned about what they knew? It's a joke to me. Like, we literally have people who have trouble getting jobs in this world. We have people out there who are struggling to live from day to day. They can't get some of these cushy jobs, but some translator for Shohei Ohtani and the Dodgers, who Shohei considered a really good friend, and they were so close. How does that guy get through the vetting process? But yet somebody else who might be, for all I know, there might be a translator who might be better than that guy, might be a better human being, but won't get a chance because nobody wants to give him a chance. But this dude had access to Shohei Ohtani's money? That's a bigger question to me than anything else. At some point, our society needs to start asking questions about the quality of the people that we're giving this money to and stop asking questions about frivolous stuff. To me, the issue isn't the sports betting. To me, the issue is, how does that guy get access to Shohei Ohtani and his money? Josh Hennick filling for Mike Gill, 97.3 ESPN. Wrap up the show coming up on the other side.
You're listening to the Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
When you open the BetParks app, you're in the zone. Winning is always a rush, but the money is in the moments. It's the confidence and underdogs covering, the tension before a clutch turnover, and the pride of a parlay paying off. It's another chance to win big with all-day action. Plus, win your first $10 bet and get $125 in sports bonus bets. You play for fun, you love to win. You bet. BetParks.
See 21 in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Ohio, or Maryland. Gambling problem? 1-800-GAMBLER.
Parks Casino, this is how you win. Action, great dining, and entertainment. Don't miss these world-class headliners coming to the Excite Center inside Parks Casino. Femmes of Rock, May 17th, and Almost Queen, June 14th. For tickets and a complete list of upcoming shows, visit parkscasino.com. Parks Casino, this is how you win. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Hey, Mark, remember, getting help from Progressive is so easy. You can use the mobile app, chat with us online, or call us.
And you pick now to tell me.
I couldn't miss little Grace's ballet recital. Oh, thanks for inviting me, by the way.
Did I?
Because, I'm always here for you.
Yeah. I can use the mobile app if I need help. Sorry, you're in my wife's seat, though.
Oh, yeah, I gotta go anyway. Tell Grace she nailed her chassé.
Get the help you need from Progressive with our mobile app, online chat, or over the phone.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not available in all states.
Texting privacy policy and terms and conditions posted at textplan.us. Texting enrolls for recurring automated text marketing messages. Message and data rates may apply. Reply stop, opt out. Minimum purchase required. Interest accrues from date of purchase, but is waived if paid within promotional period. Go to windowappointmentnow.com for full offer details.
Attention homeowners. Do you know when to replace your windows? Feeling too hot or cold? Fog between the glass? Spending too much on expensive energy that literally goes out the window? It's time to replace. And right now you can get a free in-home window consultation and free price quote from Renewal by Andersen. Plus, with our March 31-day sales event, you can save $377 off every window and $777 off every door when you buy 4 or more units. Just text MAKE to 200-300 for your free consultation on top quality affordable windows or patio doors for no dollars down, no monthly payments, and no interest for a year. That's right, you don't pay a dime for an entire year. Text MAKE to 200-300 to save $377 off every window and $777 off every door when you buy 4 or more units. Hurry, this incredible 31-day sales offer is only in March. Text MAKE to 200-300. Text the word MAKE to 200-300. MAKE to 200-300.
It's buyback March at Matt Blatt Nissan. So bring any trade because AJ the Trade Man wants to buy your vehicle today. AJ pays $500 more than CarMax, so you get more dough for your ride. Brand new Sentra for just $199 per month lease with 0 security deposit. Only Matt Blatt Nissan has a 4-day love it or leave it return policy.
Oh yeah, it's on at Matt Blatt Nissan.
Or drive home with 0 down and 0 interest for 72 months. Plus, current Nissan owners get $1,000 owner loyalty cash back on every clearly marked new Nissan in stock. Have a job clearing $450 per week? We want to approve you today. And AJ wants your trade, but only at Matt Blatt Nissan.com. Rate qualifications exist with approved credits. $13.89 per thousand finance. Not all will qualify. Go to MattBlattNissan.com for complete details or call 844-917-4758. Price includes all costs to be paid by consumer except for licensing, registration, and taxes. Sentra VIN RY 201059. Lease selling price $24,579. Expires 4/6/24. It's on at Matt Blatt Nissan on the Black Horse Pike. Harbor Township.
To thank you for 40 unforgettable years, Dell Technologies is celebrating with anniversary savings on their most popular tech. For a limited time only, save on select next-gen PCs like the XPS 13 Plus, powered by Intel Core processors and more. Plus, curate your dream setup with great deals on select monitors, mice, and more must-have electronics and accessories. When you shop online at Dell.com/deals, you'll have access to leading-edge technology and free shipping on everything. Again, that's Dell.com/deals.
A healthy weight, more energy, and smooth, regular bowel movements. 3 things everyone strives for.
It's me, Chuck Norris. There's one really important thing we don't talk about enough: our health. Achy joints, digestive issues, weight gain, and fatigue. We're told these are normal signs of aging. So working with a team of health experts, we came up with Morning Kick.
Morning Kick is a revolutionary formula combining 10 different supplements in one. Probiotics that help you lose weight, prebiotics for digestion, superfoods for muscles and joints, and several of the most powerful anti-aging supplements on earth. It'll help you feel youthful, energized, focused, and help manage stress.
Anybody can achieve great health regardless of their age.
Go to roundhouseprovisions.com. Use code SUPPORT or text SUPPORT to 511-511 and claim 40% off today.
Every purchase comes with our 90-day money-back guarantee.
Text SUPPORT to 511-511. Morning. Diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Tax fees may apply.
You're listening to The Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Josh and again playing for Mike Gill, wrapping up the show on 97.3 ESPN. And back to the text that happened before. So the Ohtani press conference apparently started right before I went to break. So I decided to listen to a few minutes of it during the commercial break. I don't know what's more painful about this press conference. The fact that they're asking the new translator to translate as he goes along. And you got Shohei basically like almost double checking his work while Shohei's reading off this written statement. Or the fact that nobody gave the new translator, because like what they should have done is they should have gone to the translator and like, hey, here's Ohtani's speech. Here's his written statement. So you can follow along and translate efficiently. Instead, he's having to stop what he's doing and be like, let me double check with the Ohtani what he said. He said, okay, I got it. You know, this is so ill handled. Like, this is the reason why people like me have no respect for some of these sports franchises. Just because you have money and you're rich doesn't mean you're competent. Okay. whoever is involved in the media department of the Dodgers, this is a bad job. This is a bad job. There is something called optics, okay? Like, for those who don't know, before I got into sports talk radio, I used to work in news talk, okay? I used to work in the news talk arena. And one of the things that was a big deal when it came to political campaigns or when it came to breaking news stories was optics are everything. You got to have a certain presentation. You got to have a certain level of respectability when it comes to presenting your message. And if you can't efficiently present your message in a way that is not going to be either easily criticized or ripped apart, or is going to be something that people can at least, mentally wrap their mind around, then you're wasting everybody's time. Like, these athletes have millions and millions of dollars, and these organizations are billion-dollar industries, and they can't get a simple press conference correctly. It's a joke. It's an embarrassment. It's like when these politicians have these speeches, and it's like, who's the idiot who let that get into the speech? Who's the idiot who let that get on the teleprompter? It's the same deal to me. I will never understand how people with money can surround themselves with incompetent idiots. And thank you for attending my TED Talk for this Monday afternoon here on 97.3 ESPN. All right, no game night tonight, obviously, because I've been filling in for Mike Gill this afternoon. So if you've missed my conversations with Geoff Mosher on the Eagles, Mike McGarry on the Phillies and Sixers, or on the NBA with Brandon Scoopy Robinson, you can hear those conversations coming up at the Best of the Sports Bash in the 6 o'clock hour here on 97.3 ESPN. I'll be filling in for Mike Gill one more day on Tuesday. We will talk more Phillies, more Eagles, and more Sixers on 97.3 ESPN, and probably some Flyers as well will filter into our conversation. Thanks to Mike McGarry. Thanks to Brandon Scoopy Robinson. Thanks to Geoff Mosher, Bob Wankel, Nick Earnshaw, and thank all of you out there for listening on 97.3 ESPN FM and 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank Seattle. Have a great night, everybody.
To celebrate the new Quick Draw Progressive from the New Jersey Lottery, give it up for the rolling jackpot.
The jackpot keeps rolling, jackpot rolling. It's growing, all right.
Quick Draw is now Quick Draw Progressive with a free shot at winning a rolling jackpot with every play.
Quick Draw, jackpot, Quick Draw, play today. All right.
Play Quick Draw Progressive today.
Anything can happen in Jersey.
Must be 18 or older to buy a lottery ticket. Please play responsibly. If you or somebody knows a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.